Live from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA, and Nathan Benderson Park, it's the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships, live on ESPN.
We would like to thank our live stream partners, Captain U, Hudson, JL Sports,
Another weather delay, the competition resumes at the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA. We've been through the heats. We're now into repechage, quarterfinals, and semifinals here at this championship regatta at Nathan Benderson Park. A good day to you. I'm Mark Purcell here in the finish tower with World Rowing's Colleen Seville and David Wyant from U.S. Rowing. And Colleen, David, I'd say we have some nice competition shaping up for today, and these races will be flying down on a regular basis. And I have to say, Colleen, that really we will be in for a treat.
I'm absolutely excited to be back, Mark, and a treat indeed it will be. Quarterfinals, we'll get into some repechage, the last chance really for all of these athletes to get into the A final. And of course, we have our first race underway.
And the lineup for the first race in the men's single sculls, these are quarterfinals, 4 races. William Stanhope from the Bahamas in lane 1, Lucas Ferreira from Brazil in lane 2, Mihai Ceruta from Romania in lane 3, Stefanos Tsoukos from Greece in lane 4, Cormac Kennedy Leverett from Australia in lane 5, and Marco Paloma from El Salvador in lane 6. And they are underway, moving through the first 250. And David, welcome. Good to have you along again. And I know in these quarterfinals we're going to see those center lanes moving very fast.
Yes, that's exactly right. And the way that these are set up, these quarterfinals, we're also going to see some repechage and some semifinals this afternoon. They are all set up from previous racing. So the heats happened, and then some of the repechage happened, and we have essentially these races set up based on the previous racing at the regatta. So we should have very competitive races, and as you remarked, there will be generally a lot of speed out of the center lanes, and that's what we're seeing already in this race.
Now we know it's 3 to advance to semifinal A, B. The 3 crews in the center lanes, as David described, Romania, Greece, and Australia, just ever so close to each other as they move through the first quarter of this race. Looking like Australia, though, just starting to make a move, Mark, over Greece.
Indeed, Greece in lane 4, one of the fastest qualifiers, thus that placement in lane 4, moving through, but it is Cormac Kennedy Leverett from Australia, well known as a favorite who finished second at last year's Junior Championships and took bronze in the 2018 Youth Olympic Games. He is favored for the win here in this event, but right now he is battling out in front with that roar from Greece.
And Cormac Kennedy Leverett, you mentioned he finished second at the Under-19 World Championships last year in this boat class behind the United States' Clark Dean. And we're seeing some good speed early at 750 meters. A pretty comfortable lead for the Australian single sculler. And the progression in this race and in these quarterfinals is that we're looking for the top 3. They will move forward to the AB semifinals, so the next round in this event, to try to put themselves or have a chance to race for the medals in the A final.
It is Kennedy Leverett with a half a boat length lead over Sculls from Greece as they move towards the halfway point of this race. We were delayed by the weather again today. Showers and a few lightning strikes caused the course to be closed just an hour before the regular schedule at 9 a.m. Eastern. It was now resumed at 11:30 a.m., and it is nice out here. Blue skies. There are some dark clouds on the horizon, but none of those dark clouds moving towards Nathan Benderson Park right now. So a perfect day for racing here at the 2019 World Rowing Championships. The under-23s on the water, battling it out and looking for a chance to grab the gold.
Cormac Kennedy Leverett continuing to make his mark from Australia out of lane 5. A beautiful shot here as he starts to really push Greece away. That's Stefanos Tuskos from Greece. Still overlapped, and in fact, perhaps a little bit of a response from Greece. Romania keeping themselves right in it. As we've said, it's 3 to advance to semifinal A, B. So with the gap between Romania and really the rest of the field, not quite reason yet perhaps to sprint. We'll see how these crews get a little bit closer. No doubt about it, though, David. Greece and Australia putting on quite a show.
They have been through 1250, 750 meters to go. Again, top 3 is what we're looking for. We see Lucas Ferreira of Brazil sitting in the 4th place spot and about 7 seconds behind a qualifying spot in the AB semifinals, which is a bit of a surprise based on his result from last year in this event, finishing 6th. So we'll see if Lucas Ferreira maybe has something up his sleeve in a really fast second half, and maybe he was just sort of letting these rowers go for a bit, and he's going to show some speed that's going to strike some fear into these 3 out front. But it continues to be Australia ahead of Greece and Romania.
Ferreira certainly has the experience here at these U23 championships, this being his 3rd appearance in these World Rowing Championships. So we will see, but out in front, it still is Sculls from Greece, along with Cormac Kennedy Leverett, who is in the lead right now. But it looked like Sculls is beginning to move ahead and get in front of the Australian boat.
And as we move into the second half, indeed, that's exactly what he's doing. Stefanos Tuskos from Greece. Again, on paper, not necessarily with the fastest times from the heat that went to Romania, but with the second fastest time. So certainly not surprising to see him getting work done in the body of the race, starting to demonstrate his speed now. Top 3 to advance to semifinal A, B. So perhaps pride on the line, but currently Australia, Greece, and Romania in those critical positions to to advance.
So 4 quarterfinals, 6 boats each, 24 boats, only 12 advancing to the AB final, and a chance to go for the gold here, David.
The men's single is already a grueling event. You're the only athlete in the boat. It takes a little longer to get down the race course than if you, for instance, were sitting in an 8 with 7 other rowers in there making their mark. And so it's a grueling event with many rounds, and this is the quarterfinal round. Again, top 3 are going to move through to the AB semifinal for a chance to try to put themselves through the semifinals and into the A or B final. And right now it is the Greek single sculler out in front. And it does look like Romania actually pushing ahead of Australia, but the gap between those 3 back to Lucas Ferreira and Marco Palomo of Estonia is pretty big at this point.
And as well as William Stanhope from the Bahamas here in this race. But what a showing from Stefanos Tsoukos from Greece. He will win by about a boat length in a little open water. The Romanian Mihai Ceruta coming in second and qualifying for the final, ending his row a little bit early there, as is Cormac Kennedy Leverett from Australia in third, qualifying for those AB semifinals in the men's single sculls. There is Lucas Ferreira from Brazil crossing. Then it will be Marco Palomo from El Salvador and William Stanhope from the Bahamas, rounding out this first of the quarterfinals for the men's singles. On to the second. The lineup will be from Denmark, William Wissom. From Algeria, Oussama Habish in lane 2. In lane 3, Mbudzeni Matsutha from the Republic of South Africa. Alexander Vyazovkin from Russia will be in lane 4. Javier Insfran from Paraguay in lane 5. And Gidrius Biliauskas from Lithuania in lane 6 in the second of the quarterfinals. And very tight. We're still early in the race, but these boats still mostly connected as they move on down. But it is Alexander Vyazovkin from Russia who is in the lead right now and had a fast qualifying in the heats.
He did, absolutely. He posted the fastest time of this group in the heats. Now, we haven't seen him since 2017 when he raced at both Senior Worlds and in the men's quad, finishing 10th, and in the under-23 quad in the same year, taking 4th. So haven't seen him in a couple years. He's back testing his speed now against the rest of the group and out of the gate and in the first half of this piece, really making a mark.
Everybody in the mix here as they come through the halfway point. So anything can really happen in this second half. Again, we're looking for top 3, but less than 6 seconds separating the entire field. So a very competitive second quarterfinal.
And second half of this race, David, I know can be very competitive in the singles. A lot of these rowers are building up speed all the way down the course. It's not just a mad rush at the end or a sprint at the end. Some of them really have a race strategy where it's one long 2,000-meter acceleration.
And we're seeing from South Africa really pushing up and getting into, it looks like a second-place position, and seeing that bow of the South African single sculler in lane 3, even starting to challenge the Russian in lane 4. But look at that beautiful shot that we have from our drone. It's everybody still in this race, including William Wisholm of Denmark. Even though he is currently sitting in 6th place, he is within striking distance in this beautiful flat water that we have here. So they're approaching 500 meters to go. Again, you've got to be top 3 to put yourself in the AB semifinals. We have Russia with maybe a 5-foot advantage on South Africa as they approach that 500 to go.
Vyazovkin from Russia and Habish from Algeria, along with Masuta Mbuzeni Masuta from the Republic of South Africa, right up there in the top 3 right now. Those would be 3 advancing to the AB semifinals if that was the finish line right in front of them, but they still have about 400 meters to go.
And what a push from Masuta. He's now currently leading the pack. Masuta from South Africa. We saw him earlier this season at World Cup 1, where he rode up a class at the senior category category in the men's single. Just a wealth of experience in the junior category as well, in 2017 taking bronze in the junior men's single. So it's perhaps not surprising to see him be a little bit patient off the start. He has a lot of race experience, and from that center lane where you can see the competition all around you, making his mark now with less than 500 to go.
I was going to say Masuta really shined in the heats that qualified for these quarterfinals. He was really performed just like this, where in the second half of the race he came alive, and he is doing that right now, David. He is really pulling ahead.
Appears to be the race plan from the South African single sculler. We'll see if anybody can track him down or if he's going to move forward with a win. Sitting in second place continues to be Russia. There was a great picture of the Lithuanian single sculler in lane 6 looking to his right and trying to see where he has to be relative to the Algerian single sculler to be in a top 3 position. And those two are going after each other. They are connected, as you see on the picture, for that third spot. Algeria is starting to show a little bit more speed and wind it up here in the last 200 meters.
When I was walking to my vehicle yesterday, I happened to catch a glance at Masuta rowing up the canal. And the recovery, as you cross the finish line, you go around the island if you're in a Scull. And watching his stroke, very powerful, deep, long strokes. And boy, he's really shining right now. But here is Vyazovkin from Russia trying to sprint towards the end. But it will be a battle for third that you were calling here, David.
Look at this connection between Algeria and Lithuania. It's going to come right down to the line, and it is going to be South Africa ahead of Russia and a photo finish for the third spot. Those two athletes from Algeria and Lithuania, no idea until they find out from the referees which one is going to move to that coveted AB semifinal, as William Wisholm of Denmark crosses the line in 5th place, and then trailing will be Javier Isfran from Paraguay.
Usama Habish from Algeria smacking the water in what might be a little bit of frustration as we await the official finish of this men's singles quarterfinal. But he was right there with that boat from Lithuania. So we'll have to see what the officials say downstairs as to who will be advancing to the AB semifinals and who will be relegated to the CD semifinals. In the meantime, 2 more quarterfinals to go, 3 more boats looking for the AB semis in the U23 men's single sculls here at the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships. In this race, it's Tatsuya Sakurama from Japan in lane 1, Mohamed Al-Shahawi from Egypt in lane 2, Mark Weber from Germany in lane 3, Lucas Reim from Austria in lane 4, Janis Timbors from Latvia in lane 5, and Gunther Reid from Luxembourg in lane 6. And it is the boat from Germany, Mark Weber, out in front right now, but Lucas Reim from Austria, his rival, right beside him.
Oh, I think we can expect an absolute battle between these two athletes as they move into the second half of the race. That 1,000-meter mark signaling the halfway point. Mark Weber, of course, silver in the under-23 single last year, so he'll be chasing that gold medal. He's also tracking toward Tokyo in a larger crew on the German national team, just to kind of extend that pool so that they have a larger group to choose from. So he is tracking and training toward the Tokyo dream, that really paying off for him at the moment as he moves through this race into the second 1,000, still leading.
Sakurama of Japan sitting in that third qualifying spot through the halfway point. So we'll see how it shapes up. It does look like sort of a grudge match there between Germany and Austria. The German in the yellow trademark Empacher boat from Germany, and then a bright red boat of the Austrian single sculler in lane 4. And they just seem to be sort of trading punches and trading speed. You see Weber has had an advantage that he's now pushed out to maybe a little bit of open water as they're striking at different times. It's sort of like you see the bow of the Austrian boat sort of touch the stern, the tip of the stern of the German boat, because they're striking at different times. But it's a really good grudge match up front. These two are likely to see each other in a later round of our competition.
Their stroke rate's about even here, Colleen, as they're coming down.
It is. I think Germany, that's Mark Weber, will have a little bit further to go in terms of taking up his stroke rate than the Austrian sculler Lucas Reim. So he's getting getting the job done with sheer power, a nice long stroke. We can see just a beautiful shot sending the boat out stroke by stroke. But as David aptly described, Lucas Rhyme just not letting him get away, maintaining that contact as we move through the last stretch.
And Rhyme beginning to increase that stroke rate. Just when I said they were stroking about the same, he is now up and above and almost 10 strokes a minute faster than the German boat.
And Weber looks like he might have eased up just a little bit there for a series of strokes. But really, the boat speed is similar in that German boat. It was just more boat speed from Austria, quite frankly, over about a 10 or 15 stroke period that got the Austrian out in front. So they're doing what they need to do here. They're trading punches. They're showing each other that they've got good speed at different stroke ratings and sort of sending a message knowing that they both, barring any mistakes, will move forward to that AB semifinal.
Being a little coy there, I would say, with a little I'll let you go in front, but look, I can come back too. I have a little bit left. In the meantime, Tatsuya Sakurama from Japan in lane 1 is holding on to that third spot that will advance to the AB semifinals here right now. And he really is not facing much of a challenge from anybody else in the race. So as you can see from our overhead shot, that third boat on the left side, that is Sakurama from Japan, and he is holding on to that third spot.
And as they move through the line, these singles a bit spaced out, a bit more spaced out than some of the earlier rounds that we've seen. But as we've described, it's 3 to advance to semifinal A, B. So it's likely that we will not see these athletes kick up the stroke rate to execute against a final sprint. We might, but odds are that we won't. So as they come through the very final stretch, it's looking like it will be Mark Webber of Germany currently leading over Lucas Rhyme of Austria, then currently holding third, Sakurama from Japan.
Mohamed El Shahawi from Egypt trying to stroke and catch up with Sakurama from Japan, but he'll have to settle for fourth and a spot in the CD semifinals. In the meantime, here comes Janis Timbors from Latvia, and it will be Gunther Reed from Luxembourg in sixth in this third of the quarterfinals for the men's single sculls. Live on ESPN. These are the World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA. I'm Mark Purcell with Colleen Seville and David Wyant. Glad to have you along as we are watching the quarterfinals for the men's single sculls. One more quarterfinal, 3 spots left in the AB semis here. It was Weber winning at a time of 6:50.53 in that third quarterfinal. For the fourth quarterfinal, the lineup is France in lane 1, Anthony Girard. In lane 2, James Wright from the USA. In lane 3, Stanimir Halatsov from Bulgaria. In lane 4 will be Morten Schubert from Switzerland. Lane 5, Jonas Juhl from Norway. And in lane 6, from Uganda, Arnold Omani. The fourth of the quarterfinals for the men's single sculls. And as we join the race, you can see that it is the Bulgarian, Stanimir Halatsov, out in the lead by about a boat's length over Jonas Juhl from Norway, who is in lane 5, but not very far behind. Schubert from Switzerland, Wright from the U.S., and Girard from France.
Yeah, 5 boats really in the mix still. It's too early to know a whole lot about what's going to happen down the race course. But it is that boat from Bulgaria that's out in front, along with the boat from Norway. And so that's where they sort of stand as they come through the halfway point. But a big second half could get any of these other boats into the mix. You see James Wright sitting in 4th place, but only about 0.2 of a second behind Switzerland. So that's a battle with France right in the mix there as well, within a second of those other 2. 3 boats going for a spot in the semifinal. The AB semifinal is going to shape up to be pretty amazing. I was looking at the times come through from the first couple quarterfinals, and they are very fast times. So if these conditions hold up and we have races all the way to the finish line, we may see some, possibly even some World Championship best times.
Now, we've talked a little bit about the collegiate university subplot that's happening at this event and just how many student athletes there are representing their various countries. James Wright finished his first year at Stanford where he stroked the 1V, but Jonas Juhl from Norway just finished his freshman year at Princeton. So a couple of collegiate student athletes in this event, and such an exciting chance for them to get to line up against each other.
Well, on just the United States team, there were 33 universities represented. So it's quite amazing, the talent, rowing talent that's happening not only in the U.S. of A., but also around the world, though many of these rowers may attend school here in the United States. But right now, as we're watching the final quarterfinal for the U23 men's single sculls here at these championships, it is still a lead out in front for Jonas Juel from Norway in lane 5. He is just ahead of the second place boat of Bulgaria, Stanimir Halatsov. Halatsov had been in the lead in the first portion of the race, but now it is the Norwegian who has taken over.
And it's Morten Schubert of Switzerland that has sent a message in that third 500 to James Wright of the United States, pushed out by about a second. So we're talking in these single sculls, maybe about a half a length or 3/4 of a boat length out on James Wright from where they sat at the 1,000-meter point. So if James Wright is going to push himself into this AB semifinal, he's got to find speed here in the last 250 meters. But it is a very strong Norwegian continuing to be out in front. The Princeton rower, Jonas Juel, is into the last 250 and leading this field there.
I think it's going to be a battle for third right now between James Wright and the Swiss Morten Schubert as that beginning to line up. Now, Schubert right now with a bit of an advantage over the American, but out in front, the Norwegian is really stroking strong and showing what he has as the boat from Bulgaria, the Stanimir Halatsov, continues to pursue, but he is now being chased down by the boats on either side, James Wright from the USA and Morten Schubert from Switzerland.
James Wright may run out of water. I think that the Swiss single sculler really cranked it up there with the stroke rating and is holding off James Wright. But in fact, so much speed out of the Swiss single scull that he may track down the Bulgarian single sculler at the finish line. But finishing in first, it will be Jonas Juel of Norway, just ahead of very close, I'm going to say Bulgaria, just ahead of Switzerland, and the United States in a disappointing fourth place going to the CD semifinal, ahead of France and Uganda.
And I'll just say for James Wright, too, I think that's quite an accomplishment. He's just 19 years old. As I mentioned, he finished his freshman year at Stanford, where he stroked their first varsity boat. So someone I think that we'll see continuing to make an impact at the U23 level.
Some emotion there on some of the rowers' faces. The French rower, his head hung down, knowing that he will be going to the CD semifinals, but having given his all 2,000 meters down the way. But quite a showing for Jonas Juel from Norway, winning the fourth of the quarterfinals for the U23 men's single sculls. We will see the women racing the single sculls and the lightweight single sculls later this morning, and we will, I'm sure, have exciting races, just as exciting races as those. From quarterfinals to repechage, these are the U23 women's double sculls that raced yesterday. At the repechage, fishing again for a chance to go to the A final. 2 boats will advance out of this race. In lane 1, it is Brazil. Lane 2, China. Lane 3, Greece. Lane 4, Canada. And lane 5, Estonia. That's the lineup for the women's double sculls. Repechage number 1, we will have 2 repechage in this event, so 4 boats advancing to the A final. Right now, early on, it is Greece out in front by a boat length.
Greece now moving through the 1,000-meter mark. We see them with a good length over the field, a lot of sheer power coming out of that shell, that rhythm just working for them. On paper, when we look at the performance from the heats, it would be Greece out ahead, so perhaps not a little bit surprising. They finished second in the first heat. As a reminder, in heat 1, Hungary won quite comfortably, about 6 seconds over Greece. Greece had an open water advantage over the rest of the field, but they couldn't quite catch Hungary, so maybe a little bit to prove, David, here as they move through this repechage.
And I was looking at People's Republic of China in lane 2. I believe their stroke rating is quite a bit lower than the Greek boat that's out in front, and that may come into play. We'll see if it does down the track. Certainly, if you're taking less strokes, but you're sitting in a second-place position, you would think that there would be more energy there at the finish line. But starting to push into them a bit is Lane 4 Canada. So these are kind of the three boats that are showing speed for 2 spots straight to the A final. These are going to be cutthroat races, these repechage. There's 2 spots available in that A final, and if you don't make it top 2 out of this race, you're going to the B final.
It's Dimitra Sofia Samopoulou from Greece in the bow of the boat with Aneta Kiridou in the stroke in the Grecian boat in lane 3 that's in the lead with a little bit of open water. You were commenting about the People Republic of China boat in lane 2, Zhang Shushan and Hu Kunwu, and they are really moving fast. They have a little bit of a slower stroke rate, which, as you've commented before, Colleen, might mean they have another gear that they can kick it up in towards the end, but they are holding on to second right now, while that Canadian boat of Yara Ensinger and Katie Clark continues to try to move up.
Mark, they may well have heard you. It looks like that China is gaining a little bit of speed here now as we move into the last quarter of the race. They haven't quite caught Greece. Greece continuing to lead, but we know that it's just 2 to final A. So the strategy here is, and we can see it in the Canadian shell as well, is to use your stroke rate, use your power, do everything you can to get into final A.
Greece got a little shot of adrenaline there at about 1,400 meters because the bow woman caught a partial crab on the left side. So then they got back up to speed, but that was part of the reason why you saw China catch up there for a moment. But I still am waiting to see if China is going to wind it up, and if so, whether that speed is going to be more than the Greek boat has.
They are at the same stroke rate as they were at the 1,000-meter, so they're doing all this movement surely on power here, David.
And if they can continue to do that, then obviously they're not even showing potentially their full speed. And if they can just move through and not show their full speed, then they might be a dark horse in the final.
Shuzhan and Kinyu from the People's Republic of China continuing to pursue the Greek boat in lane 3 here in the first of the repechage for the women's double sculls. Again, just 2 boats advancing to the A final. The remaining boats will be in the B final. So that is why Yara Ensminger and Katie Clark from Canada are working hard right now to catch up with those front 2 boats.
Doing everything they can, Mark. That's exactly who I'm keeping an eye on. They're up at about 37 strokes per minute. This is the moment, really, again, where you use your stroke rate, you use your power. I'm sure that these women are communicating to each other that this is the moment that they absolutely need to drop the hammer to see if they can get into the A final. Now, it would take something special at this point. It's looking like it will be Greece and the People's Republic of China. Canada doing absolutely everything they can, but it's just not quite enough. It is Greece, the People's Republic of China, Canada, then coming through the line out of lane 5. That's Estonia, and on the far side, Brazil.
Exciting finish. The Chinese really on the move there at the end, and they are congratulating each other. Boat from Greece showing the effects of that very competitive race, David.
And Greece, having a little bobble like that when you're out in front, that's why you've put yourself out front, is that if there is any sort of mistake, it's not going to be fatal. So great race there from Greece.
Samopoulou and Kiridou from Greece and Zhang and Hu from China advancing to the A finals in the women's double sculls. That leaves just 2 lanes to fill, and it will be filled by 2 of the boats from the second of the repechage. In this lineup, it's Nigeria in lane 1 with Glory Semidara and Janet Deborah David. In lane 2, it's Georgia Patton and Harriet Hudson from Australia. In lane 3, Emily Delleman and Elizabeth Sharis from the USA. In lane 4, Austria's Johanna Christoph and Chiara Halama. And as we look at the picture, we see that it is Australia, Georgia Patton and Harriet Hudson out in front early, being tracked down by the boat from Austria and the boat from the USA.
We talked about the United States boat. They're both Stanford rowers. One, Elizabeth Sharis, just graduated. Emily Delman is a rising senior. They rowed together in the varsity 8 at Stanford. They rowed together in high school. And we talked about the fact that they each hold multiple world rowing indoor records. So there's a lot of power in that boat. And what we saw out of the heats was that they really showed a lot of speed in the second half. So they are sitting here with a connection on second place Austria, and we'll see what happens in this second half of the races. They're about halfway through the third 500. Is the U.S. going to start to find that speed that we saw in the heat and push themselves? They need to push themselves past one of these two crews ahead of them, Austria or Australia.
And I have to say, the Sheras family has quite a lineage when it comes to rowing. Many talented athletes. Their father coaches a junior crew here in the Y-Quad cities in the United States. They row on the Mississippi River, and they are always producing superb scullers. So not surprising to see Elizabeth Sheras out there in the boat with Emily Delleman doing a fine job here, but still trailing that boat from Austria and that place in the A final for the women's double sculls.
And Elizabeth Sheras, her father, a former Olympian himself, I believe, in the 1992 games in the men's pair. So it's in the genes. But keeping an eye on Australia, because they are our leader as we come into the last stretch of this race. It's Australia holding first, Austria in second, the U.S. in third, followed by Nigeria in fourth, with just 2 boats to qualify. Currently, Australia doesn't look like the U.S. will be able to quite catch Austria, but we'll see. There's still some water ahead.
Well, just as you say that, they begin to lean into their oars, but they do have about a second or so to make up, to catch up, about a second and a half to make up on that boat from Austria in order to capture that spot. But out front, Georgia Patton and Harriet Hudson from Australia looking very strong. When we were looking at that drone shot, looking down into the boat, just seeing that form and power working well, moving that boat through the water as they're 250 meters from the finish, David. That was quite a showing. Meantime, here come the Americans.
They are on the move, are the Americans, but they may run out of water. This Austrian boat really they just started to wind it up. I have been keeping my eye on the Austrians because they have been keeping a relatively low rhythm until they've really had to go. And now with the Americans pushing, the Austrians have gone, and it's going to be pretty difficult, I think, for the Americans in the last 15 strokes to track down Austria. But just so much power in that boat from Australia trying to go start to finish and put themselves in one of the more favorable lanes for our A final. And it does appear that the Americans, unfortunately, are just going to run out of water. They're still pushing, and the bow is maybe gaining an inch on Austria each stroke, but they're going to run out of water. It's Australia finishing in first place ahead of Austria and the United States in that order, about a length separating each crew. And then down the race course, still on the race course, is Nigeria.
The Russians, the Austrians really pushing there at the end and picking up the pace with a sprint. They still had a different gear to kick into, and boy, they are really happy to have made it to the A final in the women's double sculls and are celebrating, but disappointment on the faces of Emily Delleman and Elizabeth Sheras from the USA. So close, but running out of water at the finish and having to settle for a trip to the B final instead. Live on ESPN, these are the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA. Colleen Saville, David Wyant, and yours truly, Mark Purcell, here calling these races on the third day of competition, delayed from this morning due to a rain shower and some lightning moving through, but nothing but sunshine and a lot of blue skies to be seen right now. From the women's doubles to the men's double sculls repechage. In lane 1 will be Norway, lane 2 Canada, lane 3 the USA, and in lane 4 Japan. A little different situation here, as in the women's doubles, there were only 2 boats to go to the A final, but for the men's, there are 3 boats going to the semifinals, the AB semifinals. So 3 out of these 4 boats hoping for a spot in those AB semifinals.
Canada out in front of the United States. Beautiful picture there. Ahead of Japan, Norway and Japan in that order as they come through the halfway point of our 2,000-meter race course. So again, it's top 3. Only one of these 4 crews will be left out of the mix. And you got a great shot there of the American, 750 meters to go. You have in that boat Cole Dorsey representing George Washington University, and Mark Hoven, who goes to or just graduated from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Pretty amazing club team at UMBC, and they have a rower here at our Under-23 World Championships.
And really, it's between Norway and the USA. They are going back and forth, Colleen.
They are now. It's 3 to advance to semifinal A, B. So the position that you don't want to find yourself in is 4th. Currently running 4th is Japan, but of course, Mark, as you rightly say, the USA and Norway having a bit of a battle while Canada holds that lead. So the question then becomes, will Japan be able to bring themselves up enough to put themselves in a competitive position to advance to semifinal A, B? At the moment, it's not looking like they will, at least not yet, as we move through the last stretch, starting to run out of a bit of water. Currently, Norway just over the USA, Norway running 2nd, Canada holding on to 1st.
A lot of speed out of the Maple Leafs there in lane 2, Canada. Just a really powerful row. It is a pace that it looks like they could, when you're watching them, they could just go all the way down the race course, all the way around, and back to the boat trailer at the same exact speed. It just looks very, very controlled out of Canada, and it's showing because they have an open water advantage on Norway and the United States. I'm looking out at the United States. They just started to wind it up, did the United States, at about 300 meters to go. So they took the stroke rating up a little bit, and they are going to try to finish this thing off and just make sure that they stay ahead of Japan.
The boat from Norway there of Adrian Lindgren and Einar Solbakken picked up about a second and a half on the Canadian leaders in that last 500. So they are really on the move right now. As you can see, they have closed the gap. In the meantime, it is the U.S., Cole Dorsey and Mark Cohenhoven, who are beginning to move forward. But Michael Bridenton and Tyler Adams from Canada in the lead right now in this repechage for the men's double sculls.
And a job well done to the USA. Both of these athletes are on their first national team, and I'm glad to be here. Rowing a little bit of a different style. Their styles come from opposite schools, as David told us. But Mark rowing a more front-end oriented stroke, Cole a more back-end stroke, but they seem to meet in the middle well. And as they come through the line, a job well done. Canada, Norway, the USA, with Japan in their final few strokes to take 4th. The USA, Canada, and Norway advancing to semifinal A-B.
A view of the effort made from these rowers. They make it look easy. You know, it looks easy as they're coming down the course, but then you can see when they stop rowing and are recovering after the finish line, you can see just that effort that has been made and how drained they are in that 2,000-meter race. Just amazing work there for the men's doubles. Another repechage up next for the lightweight women's double sculls. In lane 1, it's Great Britain. In lane 2, Ireland. In lane 3, the People's Republic of China. In lane 4, the Netherlands. Lane 5 will have Japan. Lane 6 will be Mexico. And what a beautiful shot right here from the wave attenuator, David, with 4 boats lined right up.
Big smile on my face. Look at this one. 2 spots in the A final up for grabs. Look at these 4 bows within about 5 feet of one another and just charging down our race course. Beautiful shot from overhead. So you have lanes 1 through 4. The race currently being led by lane 1, Great Britain, but you have Ireland, People's Republic of China, and the Netherlands within about 6 inches of one another. This is a race to the halfway point.
That's Fiona Chestnut and Chloe Knight from Great Britain there in lane 1 in the lead. And I was noticing this yesterday, too. The boats from Great Britain, who in some of the heats didn't appear to be performing very well, have really come through in the repechage and really have been flying down the course. There was at least 2 races I can immediately recall yesterday where the boats from Great Britain were in the lead and stayed in the lead.
I've been so impressed with Great Britain. I think it's a real testament to the depth that they have on both the junior squad and the U23 squad. Then, of course, rising up all the way to the senior level. Great Britain being so proficient with both sweep rowing, but of course with sculling, which is what we're watching here. Great Britain currently leading. Ireland, though, ever so close. And Ireland, for the first time, poking their bow Oh, just ahead, trading bow by bow with Great Britain.
At the halfway point there, David, those four boats separated by less than 0.6 of a second.
It's as good as it gets. Four boats still in the mix and still connected and still separated by maybe 5 feet total. You can look. You can see the times come through. It's 0.6 seconds for four boats, and only two of those boats are going to make it through to that coveted A final. This one is going to come down to it, and I'm curious to see who is going to be the one that takes that first major punch on the other three as they come through. 750 meters left. Right now it's Ireland taking that punch in the green jerseys.
Aoife Casey and Gladina Nolan from Ireland, yes, trying to move forward and now trying to take over the lead, but it's Iris Hochstenbach and Femke van den Vliet from Netherlands that are right there trying to move with them, but Ireland's Aoife Casey and Cleodana Nolan really beginning to pull ahead, while Fiona Chestnut and Chloe Knight from Great Britain trying to hang in there, as are Fu Jiyu and Zhu Jiwang from the People's Republic of China. They are all still connected, but beginning to separate slightly. And here we are in that third 500 that we always look at, Colleen, to see how they are going to react.
Oh, it's such an incredible part of the race, truly, because these athletes, of course, are jockeying for their finish positions. But as we've talked about over the past several days, it's also the point where that lactic acid just totally hitting them. As we take a look, though, at current positions, it continues to be Ireland. Ireland, perhaps known for their gutsy last 500s. I think we can expect a good sprint from them here, getting ever so close. The Netherlands keeping themselves right in it as well. Reminder, 2 to advance to Final A. It's looking like Ireland and Netherlands at the moment, but Great Britain, David, they should not be left out.
Great Britain might have the most speed of the three right now on the race course, and it is so close right now between Great Britain and the Netherlands, trailing Ireland. And the one that has dropped off the pace is the People's Republic of China from those four that we had connected all the way through the 1,500-meter point. This is it. This is where you've got to lay it on the line. All the energy's got to come out from these women to try to push through and get one of those two spots in the A final. What's going to happen? It's Ireland, and they're being tracked down here by the Netherlands and Great Britain.
Indeed, the Netherlands really on the move here in the final 350 meters. They have really gained a lot of ground and are really still accelerating as they are coming down to the line into those red buoys. They can sense that finish line behind them. Only 2 spots for the A final here. It's Great Britain now trying to catch up with Ireland and the Netherlands as the Netherlands continues to move forward.
Amazing, amazing finish. Last 10 strokes. It's Ireland continuing with the lead. It's Great Britain trying to push, but it's the Netherlands that I think is going to have a little too much speed for that boat from Great Britain. And they are all, what a finish. 3 connected boats. It's unofficially Ireland ahead of Netherlands and Great Britain. Probably a second or second and a half separating the 3 at the finish line. People's Republic of China in 4th place. Coming across the line is the boat from Japan in 5th place, and finishing up is Mexico in 6th.
Boy, that Netherlands boat really moving in the final 500 meters, and they had, as you said, David, a lot of speed coming across the line. They were almost at the bow of Ireland, but perhaps started that fast stroke just a little late, but boy, you can see the effort on the stroke of the Netherlands boat as she hangs her head, and it was Great Britain. It was the Netherlands in first with, Ireland in first with Great Britain not far behind, but it was the Netherlands in second, capturing that spot to the A final. On to the next repechage. This is the lightweight men's double sculls with Egypt in lane 1, the USA in lane 2, Spain in lane 3, and Hong Kong, China in lane 4. Mustafa Kandil and Mohamed Habita from Egypt in lane 1. Luke Smith, Alexander Damjanovic from the USA in lane 2. Dennis Carricito and Jordi Orefino from Spain in lane 3. And Lam Santung and Wang Wai-chun from the Hong Kong, China boat in lane 4. And as we join the race, it is the boat from Spain out in the lead with China Hong Kong, China in second right now by about a boat length, but the other two boats, the Egyptian and U.S. boat, very close together.
So it's 3 to advance to semifinal A, B. Spain indeed out ahead. Now, on paper, this is not surprising when we look at the times from the prior round in the heats. They were a good 20 or so seconds faster than both Hong Kong, China, the USA, and then even more so faster than Egypt. So not surprising to see them out ahead as we already move through what's almost the last quarter of the race. It's looking like indeed it will be Spain. Then the question becomes who will be able to capture that critical second and third place position and who will be left out. At the moment, it's looking like fourth would be Egypt, with Hong Kong, China in second, the USA holding third.
Spain looks very comfortable, and their lead is open water. And it's hard for me to say comfortable because I know that it is physically taxing for sure to be leading any race at the Under-23 World Championships. But when you watch them row, they are making it look very easy, are the two gentlemen from Spain out in front. And they're going to probably maintain probably a similar speed, I would suspect, all the way down the track, being that they just have to be top 3 to get into that A-B semifinal. So leading the race certainly was going to get them there, and now it's just to try to fend off moves that they might see from Hong Kong, China, or the United States. And
that is exactly what they are doing just a moment ago. They had been hanging right about 33 strokes a minute, which is almost a leisurely pace at this level, while most of the other boats in the race were in the upper 30s. But when they saw Hong Kong, China beginning to advance, they picked up, just for a short bit, picked up their stroke rate to about 35, got back ahead, settled back in at 33. So obviously Spain has a little something. They're not showing their entire hand here in this repechage for the lightweight men's doubles.
And now Spain, we have seen this season thus far. We saw them in Lucerne at the U23s last year. They took 6th overall in the lightweight men's quad, so now moving into the double, but certainly accustomed to rowing with each other, and I think really demonstrating that right now as they move through this last stretch.
So Dennis Carricito and Jordi Orofino from Spain in the lead here in the lightweight men's double sculls at the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, live on ESPN, coming down to the line, stamping their ticket to the AB semis.
And it looks like Hong Kong, China will be shortly across the line there after Spain, and then it's going to be the United States with the other qualifying spot. The bowman in that boat, Luke Smith, graduated from the Tampa Preparatory School just up the road here and is very familiar with this race course. So sitting in that bow, he can help out his teammate. Those two athletes were actually the United States lightweight pair last year that finished 6th in the A final. They put themselves into a sculling boat this year to try their hand, and they're going to be in the AB semifinal.
Mustafa Kandil and Mohamed Habita from Egypt crossing the finish line to round out the field in this repechage for the U23 lightweight men's double sculls. I'm Mark Purcell here with World Rowing's Colleen Seville and U.S. Rowing's David Wyatt. Glad to have you along as you are watching Rowing live on ESPN. Something entirely new. Glad to have you here, and boy, what exciting happenings are going on as we are into the quarterfinal. A few repechage, but semifinals starting in a very short amount of time. And we've been looking at mainly small boats, but now off to the big boats, the big dogs, as they say, and a preliminary race for the women's eights. The starting lineup, it's Germany in lane 1, Great Britain in lane 2, Romania in lane 3, the Netherlands in lane 4, and the USA in lane 5 in this preliminary race in the women's eights. And right now, a shot from overhead looking down into the boats as it is Great Britain and the Netherlands beginning to battle, but all the boats still right there all together.
We do have a beautiful pack here of 5 women's eights coming down the race course. A beautiful shot right in the center of that boat from Romania. The senior women won the gold medal on this race course 2 years ago at the World Championships. So they have another strong 8. It looks like Romania sitting in 3rd place at the moment. Your leaders appear to be Great Britain, just ahead of the Netherlands. The Netherlands very close to Great Britain, with Romania sitting in 3rd place. This boat from the United States in lane 5, coached by Kelsey Chadwin of Stanford University. It's a relatively young crew with a lot of first-time national team members.
You could see the coxswain in the USA boat really barking and throwing her back into the bark as she was urging her rowers on as they stay in contact. All these 5 boats in this preliminary race. It's a race for lanes in the A final.
It is. It's a race for lane, so of course the advantage in a situation where there's not a crosswind being that center lane, because we mentioned the coxswains. Well, the coxswains can then turn left, turn right. They can see the field a bit easier than, for example, being in a lane 6 on one of the outside lanes where they have to kind of turn their heads and look across. It's especially helpful, I'd say, too, in smaller boats where there's not a coxswain. So 3 is the desired lane. Yes, this is a preliminary race, so it's just as competitive. It's an opportunity for these women to get out on the course, test their speed against each other, and truly get a sense of each other's race plans.
It's the boat from Great Britain in the lead right now, but just barely over the Netherlands. And even as I say that, David, now it's the Netherlands in the lead over Great Britain, so they're really swapping back and forth. That's lanes 4 and lane 2. You can see them both in your picture right now. The Netherlands in the foreground and Great Britain in the background.
Yeah, we'll remember this for the final. It's Great Britain and the Netherlands kind of trading speed, showing each other over a period of strokes that they've got a little more speed than the other boat, and then the other boat sort of coming back. And that's pretty characteristic of a race for lanes, that you see that type of gamesmanship going on. You still have Romania sitting in 3rd place, and we still have the United States as well as Germany, and you never really know what we're seeing from any of these crews. You know, quite frankly, the coach could say, just go out there, you know, find some landmarks, let's try a move here or there to see what the speed feels like in the conditions and on this race course, and maybe we won't see something happen in the final like we're seeing right now.
That there's the Netherlands making that move with 250 meters to go, where they just began to pull away from the boat from Great Britain. In the meantime, Romania continuing to be in 3rd, the U.S. in 4th, and Germany in 5th. Some of these crews may not be showing all their hand or every gear they have, but here's the Netherlands showing at least a little bit here, Colleen.
They are. I think that's quite impressive from the Netherlands. They're up against some big sweep countries, of course, the USA with a storied history in the women's 8. A lot of success there, and Romania, as David mentioned, in 2017, the winners. As we come through, though, it continues to be the Netherlands looking to win this preliminary race. A job well done to the Netherlands. A lot of speed in the 3rd 500 that carried them through just to the line. So it's the Netherlands to cross first, followed by Great Britain, and then Romania running 3rd. A good surge from the USA to finish 4th, then over to Germany out of lane 1 to capture 5th.
I don't think any of those boats was necessarily out of the race, David, because the U.S. was really moving forward. Germany right there with them. I think there was some very coy activity happening on the water, because they were really, I think, playing a cat and mouse game.
And we see some athletes slumped over. I mean, there was effort here without question, but I think that the speeds relative to one another at various points in the race course may not be what we're going to see in the A final. And there is a lot of gamesmanship going on. What I will say to my eye is that looking at the boat from the Netherlands, I think there's another gear they didn't show.
Indeed, I think so too. But quite a finish there in the preliminary race for the women's 8. From a preliminary race to a repechage for the men's 8 next here at the World Rowing Under 23 Championships. In this race, it's Australia in lane 1, France in lane 2, Germany in lane 3, Canada in lane 4, and Hungary in lane 5. The men's 8s in this repechage. And as we join the race further down the course, we can see that it is Germany just ahead of Canada right now, along with France, Australia, and Hungary. We can see all the boats in this picture at the moment. A little bit of a spread there, but it is that boat from Germany out in front.
Moving now through the 750 towards that halfway point. Yes, it is Germany, perhaps taking a page from their senior team. Of course, last year at the Senior World Championships, Germany in the men's 8 captured the gold and put on quite a show in doing it. The German 8 at the U23 level right now as they move through the 1,000. A quick start. They're leading, but not to be left out. The Canadians out of lane 4, currently running 2nd. Then it's over to Australia in 3rd, France 4th, Hungary 5th. As we move through, though, no doubt about it, Germany holding that lead, David.
And the German men in these green boats, it's a sponsorship that makes the boat green. Normally, these Empacher boats are yellow, but we see it with the men's eights that they row in these green boats. And what I'm seeing out of this German crew is exactly what we see from the senior level crew, and that is just absolute precision rowing from the Germans right now, holding off Canada.
Now, most of the time we try to make sure in the sport of rowing that all the races and among the heats and among the semifinals are under equal conditions. Of course, with Mother Nature, you can't always have everything perfect every time. And such was the case in the heats for the eights yesterday. There was a torrential downpour that began during the second heat, but the first heat didn't have any rain. So it'll be interesting to see some of the boats who were in the rain versus some of the boats that weren't in the rain and see if there's a difference in their performance as we watch the German boat continue to lead in this repechage for the men's eight, with two of the boats advancing to the A final and the remaining crews going to the B.
Now, the United States recently raced at the World Rowing Cup 3 in Rotterdam. They're now here at the U23s with 5 members of that crew that won gold in 2018. As a reminder, Great Britain took silver in 2018, and they returned with 4 of the same crew. So a lot of athletes are turning into this category, just a wealth of experience. Germany still leading into the last stretch.
Australia, though, trying to maintain some contact and hopefully overtake the boat from Canada, who's in second right now. Not left out of it, France and Hungary. They are all battling as they come down for that second spot. But really, right now, a firm hold for the boat from Canada, and Canada has begun to move up on the boat from Germany.
I'm looking at Australia on the outside. They may be the only crew that has much of a chance to track down the Germans or the Canadians, but we're seeing extremely fast times. We do have a tailwind. It's not a huge tailwind, but this could very well be a course record for a men's 8 here at Nathan Benderson Park if these boats continue to have to push all the way to the finish line. It's Germany continuing to be out in front of Canada. It's the gold jerseys of Australia trying to push, trying to get into the mix and see if they can push into Canada, and those are your top 3 as they move into the last 150 meters at a blistering pace.
Yeah, they are really moving right now. Germany continuing to fend off the advancing boats of both Canada and Australia. Australia, of course, hoping to pass Canada, but as they come down to the line, it's Australia really picking up the pace in the final 50 meters. Germany still ahead. It may be Australia ahead of Canada right now. There are only 2 spots to the A final, and as they come to the line, it is Germany, and it looks like Australia has, with their oars in the water, pulled slightly ahead of Canada at the line. Then here comes the boat from France, and followed there by the boat from Hungary. But boy, what a performance from the Australians, and you can see it in their faces as a couple of the rowers are laying down in the boat. A grand effort there in the final 50 meters for Australia to look and come out ahead of the boat from Canada that had been in second the whole way there.
Incredibly gutsy from the Australians there at the end. I mean, Canada, until the last 50 meters, was sitting in second place the whole race.
And it was Australia pulling ahead of Canada in 17/100ths of a second at the finish. So Germany and Australia advancing to the A final, with the remaining crews going to the B final there in the men's 8s. And boy, you can see on those rowers' faces, all those rowers from the German boat that won right on down the list, just looking like they gave it their all in that repechage.
I think we can expect quite a performance from Canada now in the B final. They'll be going off the starting blocks with something to prove.
On to the repechage for the under-23 women's singles sculls. We will have 2 repechage for this event. The first one on the water right now with Juliette Lequeux from France in the lead over Megan Hancock from the Republic of South Africa, as they are being pursued by Alicia Bon from Germany and Desislava Angelova from Bulgaria. A nice shot from the side as you can see those French blades out in front. The lineup is the Republic of South Africa in lane 1, France in lane 2, Germany in lane 3, Bulgaria in lane 4, and Switzerland in lane 5. So Megan Hancock in lane 1, Juliette Lequeux in lane 2, Alicia Bon in lane 3, Desislava Angelova in lane 4, and Lara Eichenberger from Switzerland in lane 5. And right now, it is the French boat out in front, with Bulgaria in second right now, but Germany right in contact, as is South Africa.
I think we can expect quite a race from these women. Again, the women's single sculls, a very deep field. That's why there are so many rounds to identify which athletes will row in the A final, the B final, etc. So a very deep field, a lot of competition. It's just 2 to advance to final A. France holding that position. A good start for France, a good start for Bulgaria as well. I think the crew I'm keeping an eye on now is Germany. That's Alicia Bohn from Germany moving through into the second half. I think she has somewhere to go, so we'll keep an eye on her, knowing that there's just 2 to advance.
As I recall, she had one of the faster times coming into this repechage, if I'm not mistaken, in the heats. So she, as you have stated there, Colleen, might have another gear or 3 to shift into. And we've seen that with these singles, David.
She might have given a little bait, so to speak, to the 2 that are out in front here. You got France and you've got Bulgaria feeling pretty good about themselves. And when are we going to start to see that speed from Germany? I think that's what we're looking at. You know, the German only 1 second behind the Bulgarian single sculler as they come through that halfway point. So this is the critical second half of the race. You can almost throw, when it's close like this, you can kind of throw out the results of the first half and focus on what's going to happen in this second half and what kind of moves are going to be shown by these women, because there's only 2 spots available in that A final from this rep.
The cue, you can see her stern in the picture with Angelova, Desislava Angelova's bow right there on the stern, but Alicia Bohn's boat from Germany is very much apparent in all the shots of the leaders, and she is beginning to slowly creep forward and overtake the boat from Bulgaria.
Juliette Lequeux from France moving into the single and into sculling from a sweep background. We saw her last year at U23s at the Under-23 Championships. She finished 9th in the women's 8. So she's moved into the single. It's going from a race plan with 9 athletes, including the coxswain in an 8, to a race plan of 1. She's decided to go early on in the race. The question is, can she hold it to advance?
Bulgaria still looking strong, and you know, she's in that spot with 450 meters left where all she's got to do is counter any move she sees from the German just trailing her. And in fact, through the 1500 meter point, we saw at 1000 meters it was a 1 second advantage for Bulgaria over Germany. Now it is a 2 second advantage. So she has pulled out, has Desislava Angelova of Bulgaria from Alicia Bohn of Germany. So we're going to have to see a pretty heroic last 400 or 350 meters from Germany if she's going to get herself in that A final.
And it is Angelova really on the move right now and beginning to eat into the lead of Lequeux from France, and the boat from Germany is beginning to slip behind, but I think that's more the movement of Angelova moving forward.
And Lequeux continuing to just kind of put more distance on the field. So Lequeux is not holding back by any means, possibly with stroke rating, but certainly not with power. There is plenty of energy, and all of the energy now in the last 200 meters into those 2 blades that are dropping in the water here at Nathan Benderson Park.
Yes, a response from the French rower as they come down into the red buoys, indicating the finish stretch of this 2,000-meter race course in beautiful Nathan Benderson Park here in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida. Some great racing here at the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships. Great racing in this first repechage for the women's single sculls.
And Angelova continuing to make a move for Bulgaria, just a wealth of experience. We've seen her a few times earlier this season at the senior level. She took bronze in the women's single last year, so looking to advance that position. As we come through, continues to be France, but that push from Bulgaria has put them in a second place position, a qualifying position. Germany then, unfortunately, would be out. That's Alicia Bohn from Germany to take third as she moves through the line. Then over, it's lane 1. That's South Africa, Megan Hancock to capture 4th. And then grabbing 5th, that is Laura Eichenberger from Switzerland. An incredible repechage 1-2 to advance.
Angelova with quite an effort there at the end, and looking in good shape at the finish line as we see an overhead shot of the winner of that rep there, Juliette Lequeux. 7:32.88 her time, and a very nice row from the French. and that first repechage for the women's single sculls. The second rep for the women's singles will feature Portugal in lane 1. That's Claudia Figueiredo. And lane 2, it's Louise Monroe from Canada. Clara Guerra from Italy in lane 3. Very fast in the heats. Almost qualified for the finals out of the heats. Georgina Robinson-Ranger from Great Britain in lane 4. And Mia-Sophie Rutsu from Denmark in lane 5. The second rep for the women's single sculls here at the World Rowing Under-23 Championships for 2019, live on ESPN. This next rep underway, and it is the Italian Guerra out in front right now by open water over the second-place boat from Great Britain of Georgina Robinson-Ranger, and right there with Ranger is Monroe from Canada.
Those are your top three. You got a good picture there of Great Britain and Canada, and they are connected, but trailing the Italian. The Italian looking very cool up there, coming through or approaching 500 meters to go already in this second rep, and she gets to play defense, or she gets to show them really what kind of speed that she has left. But I think it'll be more of a defensive play from Guerra from here on out in the last 500 meters. But it is so close now. It is a real race we've got for that second spot in the final between the boat from Canada and the boat from Great Britain.
Clara Guerra, 20 years old. She took bronze in the lightweight women's single last year. She's out ahead. She's dominated from early on, now moving into the second half of this race. She continues to hold, of course, behind her. Canada, Great Britain, a bit of a battle, so she'll need to hold that position and make sure she maintains her speed to keep herself in a qualifying spot, because Great Britain and Canada, no doubt, will have at it. It is Canada, though, holding on to that critical second position. So it's looking like Italy and Canada at the moment closing in now towards the last stretch.
These single scullers really depending on their inner strength, both physically and mentally, in these races, because it is not, you don't have a crew member or crewmate that you can bounce inspiration or encouragement off of. You really have to have that inner voice talking to yourself, your inner voice keeping yourself calm and focused, keeping your head in the boat, and just one voice, not a multitude of voices, but that one voice saying, keep your form strong, keep that power on, and keep an eye on the competition. And really the Italian doing just that right now, doesn't look bothered at all as she continues to stroke further and further out ahead of the pack.
And the form in a single scull matters a tremendous amount. You were talking about just sort of self-motivating and making sure, certainly once you get into the last bit of the race here, if you're in a position like the Italian, you're really just trying to play defense. Maybe you're trying to show them a little speed, but you want to just get your bow across the line. You've done the work to get to this point, and you just want to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. It's Canada still sitting in second place. It is still a push from Great Britain to try to catch up to Canada. Those are your top three. Looks like fourth place is currently the boat from Denmark. Fifth place is the boat from Portugal. But it is start to finish a beautifully rowed race by Clara Guerra of Italy, moving up in a boat class to the open weight women's single here at the Under-23 World Championships for 2019 after finishing with the bronze medal in the lightweight single last year.
A nice push from Louise Monroe of Canada here at the finish, really trying to gain ground on the Italian rower, but crossing in second and qualifying for that A final. In the meantime, it will be Georgina Robinson-Ranger from Great Britain crossing in third. Then it's Mia-Sophie Rutsu from Denmark crossing in fourth, and Claudia Figueiredo from Portugal will cross in fifth in the women's single sculls. This is live on ESPN, the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA. A minor pause in the action, and we will be back with more racing. Live on ESPN, it's the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA. Rowing for the first time on ESPN. Glad to have you along as we have some fantastic competition unfolding on this third day of competition. I'm Mark Purcell here in the Finish Tower with World Rowing's Colleen Seville and U.S. Rowing's David Wyand, calling these races as we watch these young competitors fight for their chance to win the gold in the Under-23 Championships for World Rowing. We will have some semifinals beginning in just a moment as there is a break for the referees to begin to change positions and boats out on the water, but the racing will resume in just a moment.
We'd like to thank our live stream partners, beginning with Captain U. Attention youth rowers. This year, U.S. Rowing has again partnered with Captain U as its exclusive online athlete recruiting partner, providing rowers with a free recruiting profile and resources for rowing in college. The profile allows athletes to publish ERG scores, academics, and videos all in one place. Additionally, athletes can connect daily with college rowing programs, receive guidance throughout the recruiting process, and search for colleges to find the best fit. Head to CaptainU.com to create your free profile today.
We'd like to thank our live stream partner, Hudson. Hudson, building boats is both an art and science. Industry requires technical innovation, intuition, and risk. Hudson Boat Works is a manufacturer of Olympic-class rowing shells and a world leader in the development of racing hull shapes, carbon composite construction, and innovative components specific to the sport of rowing. Visit HudsonBoatWorks.com to check out their fleet today.
The official partner of the U.S. national team, JL Racing, has been building unique, high-quality technical garments for competitive team sports since 1982. The go-to company for high-quality, technically advanced custom sportswear with unique designs, quick-turn production, and an easy, enjoyable ordering service with reps who go above and beyond. Visit usrowing.org.
Regatta Central is the rowing community's premier registration and management provider. By offering customizable configurations for both regattas and club management solutions, Regatta Central can help streamline your next event or club program.
Vespoli. Vespoli proudly builds all of their state-of-the-art rowing shells in our modern manufacturing facility located here in the USA. Each shell is meticulously handcrafted by their experienced and dedicated team of American craftsmen and women. Vespoli provides customers with the finest quality racing shells, from single sculls to eights in every shell, backed by a 5-year bow-to-stern warranty. Check out Vespoli.com to see all their offerings, including oars, boat, slings, and tools.
Visit Sarasota. Soak up the sun along the white sand beaches of Sarasota, Florida. Treat yourself to diverse dining and enriching arts and culture, shopping districts of all sorts and natural Florida fun. In Sarasota, each moment is your own. Go to visitsarasota.com and discover the incredible world that exists in Sarasota County on Florida's Gulf Coast when you go beyond the beaches.
And Wintech Racing. By bringing together the resources of the global marketplace, Wintech Racing has created an organization dedicated to innovation of racing shells, investment in research and development, maintaining the best price-value relationship in the marketplace, and providing exceptional service and support through our nationwide sales force. Wintech Racing, proven performance, unparalleled value.
The World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida continues at Nathan Benderson Park with the lightweight women's single sculls. It's Georgina Masters from Australia in lane 1, Lara Tiefenthaler from Austria in lane 2, Johanna Reichert from Germany in lane 3, Susanna Duncan from Great Britain in lane 4, Kristina Nuhortova from the Czech Republic in lane 5, and Yulia Narivonchik from the People's Republic of Moldova in lane 6. And as we see from overhead, this first of the semifinals for the 2019 U23 Championships is underway, and this is quite exciting, guys.
Here we go with the semifinals. So these are the AB semifinals, which means the top 3 will move through to the A final. The remaining 3 will go to our B final. So you're looking to be top 3 to try to go for the medals in this women's lightweight single sculls. And you can see just this beautiful picture, all of these women still connected on the race course. The early lead going to Laura Tiefenthaler of Austria in lane 2. So she has decided she wants to get a little bit of an edge on the field, and she had a quick start there. But we will see what the rest of the field does to try to track down the Austrian single sculler as they move into the body of the race.
So we saw quite a performance from Tiefenthaler from Austria in the prior round in the heats. She doesn't quite have the fastest time within this bunch that goes to Johanna Reichardt of Germany, but she certainly is one of the quickest. So a great performance from her in the heat. This is a full field of 15 countries that were divided into 3 heats in the prior round. So this round all about getting into Final A. Again, it's their last chance to get into Final A, and Final A will determine the top 6 crews in the world in the lightweight women's single sculls category.
Incredible race unfolding right now among these singles, and right now it is Austria's Tiefenthaler who is out in the lead. But as we look across the course right here, there's Johanna Reichardt and Susanna Duncan from Germany and Great Britain respectively right there with her, and still in contact the other 3 boats in the race from the Czech Republic and Moldova and Australia.
Tiefenthaler's stroke rating is relatively low. It is lower than the German single sculler that has now pulled it even at this point in our race course. So will that come into play? It often does. And we've talked about the energy that is expended when you're rowing physically more strokes down the race course. But these athletes are obviously top condition for their age in the world, and they are contesting this semifinal to try to be in that A final. You see your top 3 continue to be Austria, Germany, Great Britain.
And Germany now has taken the lead over the Austrian sculler. So Germany currently holding, that's Johanna Reichardt. She, in the heat, was out in front of the USA. The USA finished second in her heat. The Czech Republic in third. As we recall, she rode it high, and she won that heat. So I think we can expect really aggressive racing from her. She's now put herself in the lead for the first time on the course.
But watch out for Susanna Duncan from Great Britain there in lane 4. She is also one who turns on the afterburners and jets down the water towards the end of the race, and she's doing that right now as she continues to pursue Reichardt as they move on down. Laura Tiefenthaler from Austria now in third, with Susanna Duncan from Great Britain in second. But out in front, it is the German boat in the middle of this pack for the first of the semifinals, determining which 3 boats in this semifinal are going to have a chance for the gold here at the U23 Championships.
The boat we haven't seen in the picture that's sitting in 4th place, so one spot if it ended now out of the A final. It's a boat from the Czech Republic, and she is within striking distance, is that boat from the Czech Republic. So you can see there on the overhead shot that there is almost connection between the boat from Austria and the boat from the Czech Republic for that 3rd and 4th spot, respectively. And so we'll see what happens in the second half of the race as they cross over halfway. The first half was won, so to speak, by Reichardt of Germany, and she does look very cool out front. I was talking about the stroke ratings. I do not want to discount that Johanna Reichardt is in the mid-30s. That is a very manageable pace. So even though Tiefenthaler was a little bit lower with the stroke rating, this is a pace that seems manageable for the German.
Tiefenthaler and Susanna Duncan of Great Britain going stroke by stroke. It is Susanna Duncan, Mark. You rightly said that we'll need to keep an eye on her. We can remember Susanna Duncan's performance from Heat 1. She took the lead at the start. She held the entire time. A lot of power. It continues to be Germany in first, but Great Britain now passing Austria. That's Laura Tiefenthaler. Laura Tiefenthaler then running third. And yes, the Czech Republic currently running fourth. But what a battle between Great Britain and Austria. Susanna
Duncan glancing to her right to check on the Austrian in lane 2, and her bow is right behind the stern of Reichardt's boat from Germany that's in the lane right beside her as they continue to stroke down towards the 1500 meter mark, meaning 3/4 of the race. But you can see that number 4 bow marker right on the stern of the German there in lane 3.
Nuhortova of the Czech Republic is probably the only boat at this point that's got a chance to move into those top three that it seemed to be pulling away from the rest of the field. So it continues to be the German ahead of the rower from Great Britain and the rower from Austria in that order. And then there's open water separating those three. So if it were to end now, they would be the three that move through. But we have 500 meters left, and anything can happen in these single sculls. The other thing that I'm looking at and will be looking at in these semifinals with these maximum efforts being put down this race course at Nathan Benderson Park is that we're going to see some blazing times with this tailwind. So we'll see how they match up all time in world rowing. But these women are really showing their worth, and the Great Britain single scull are really starting to move now.
What a move from Susanna Duncan. She was at the 1,500 meter mark, about a second and a half behind Reichert from Germany in lane 3. And right now she is really walking up on the German, but still trying to pursue. We'll see if Reichert has something to respond. In the meantime, Thielen Taylor from Austria in lane 2, sticking with those front two boats, knowing that at least 3 boats are going to that A final. So we'll see how it works. But it's also Thielen Taylor and following Duncan as they move up on Reichert.
And right now, if Susanna Duncan continues at this speed, she will pass Johanna Reichert. In fact, she just has, for the first time, put her bow ahead in these final few strokes. Now, Duncan raced in the lightweight women's double last year. She took a bronze there. We mentioned the heat. The prior round, she broke off early. She held by several lengths. She's clearly got a lot of power. She's now leading the field as we come in the final few hundred.
What Susanna Duncan just showed us is that she really has the chops in her head to make this thing happen. She went down the race course. She let the German lead. She let the German show the energy that she needed to be out in front. And then in this last 500 meters, it has just been dominated by Susanna Duncan. It does not actually even appear that she's having to take the stroke rating up too high, and it does appear that she's going to win this first semifinal of the women's lightweight single for Great Britain ahead of Germany and Austria.
And it does look like the Czech Republic and Australia are battling it out for that 4th spot. But, boy, what a performance there from Susanna Duncan of Great Britain. A big power there towards the end. And as you observed that her stroke rate didn't go up much, but her boat began to move faster. That was quite incredible. So coming across the line, it was Susanna Duncan from Great Britain in first, Johanna Reichert from Germany in second, and Lara Tiefenthaler from Austria in third, advancing to the A final. Meanwhile, the Czech Republic's Nuhortova will be in fourth, followed by Georgina Masters from Australia and Yulia Naravancic from the Moldova. Those will be advancing to the B final in the lightweight women's single sculls. And just when you thought the race was kind of settled with that chevron pattern in the middle of the pack, away it goes. We'll see if the same is true for the semifinal B. The second semifinal for the lightweight women's single sculls. We have Amelie Brems from Denmark in lane 1, Hung Wing-Yan Win from Hong Kong, China in lane 2. It's Elena Uliana Mihai from Romania in lane 3, with Bridget Kennedy from the USA in lane 4, Olivia Nacht from Switzerland in lane 5, and Sabrina Diaz Jimenez from Uruguay in lane 6 in the second semifinal. And as expected, those middle lanes are busy here, Colleen.
They absolutely are. It's a great start for Bridget Kennedy of the USA. So she was very quick off the starting blocks and now moving through the first 1,000, holding that lead, looking like she'll be first across into the second 1,000. Romania right on her tail, Switzerland right with her. Now this, unlike the prior race that we saw, this is 3 to progress to final A. So top 3 is where you want to be. Hong Kong, China doing everything she can to keep herself right in it.
Bridget Kennedy showing speed here on home water. She rode for Narragansett in high school. She rode for Harvard University as a collegiate athlete. And you just saw her glance over at that bow ball of the boat from Romania just to her right on the race course. And she knows what kind of speed she's got to at least match to continue to stay out in front of this race. It does look like some speed from Hong Kong, China in lane 2 is the only boat that at the moment is really challenging these top 3. that are in the center of the race course in lanes 3 through 5.
Bridget Kennedy looking very determined when we had that shot, even as she glanced over. But Olivia Nacht from Switzerland looking equally determined to stick right with Kennedy and maybe overtake her. In the meantime, it is Elena Juliana Mihai from Romania who is in third, but right with the leaders right now. And Bridget Kennedy with a good view of the competition. But I think really it's the boat from Switzerland that's on the move.
It's Olivia Nacht from Switzerland. Indeed, she is moving. Now, on paper, in the prior round, it's Romania. That's Elena Juliana Mihai. She was the winner of heat number 3, posting the fastest time of this bunch. So I think we'll keep an eye on her as well and see kind of what speed she can develop in the third 500, such a critical part of the race, as we've mentioned. No doubt about it, though, Bridget Kennedy, just a very confident race. She got out early. She held through the first 1,000. She's doing exactly that in the second 1,000. Looks like Romania starting to press in, but it'll take quite a bit of work to catch Bridget Kennedy.
You know, we've spoke about in the heats that none of the rowers knew what had happened in the race that goes off before them or the race that goes off after them for at least a short period of time. Not the case here in these semifinals. I'm sure they have been doing some studying of, if not video, at least taking a look at times and splits.
And just a little bit slower to the halfway point in this semifinal, but only a couple seconds. So we're talking about very similar speeds between the two semifinals. Always amazing to me when you compare athletes from different countries, from even different rowing programs within the United States or any other country, that we can find such similar speeds at the highest levels. But that's where it is. It's any sport that you see at an Olympic or elite level, it's just split seconds all the way down any sort of race course, a rowing race course, a track, a bike ride. They're all just so close to one another. But Bridget Kennedy is trying to send a message in this semifinal that nobody in this semifinal is going to catch me.
Meanwhile, we are seeing Hong Wing-Yan Min from Hong Kong, China, really beginning to move up and join Elena Juliana Mihai and Olivia Nacht in that pursuit of Bridget Kennedy. Those three boats really on the move right now. As a matter of fact, Olivia Nacht, who seemed to be moving forward and doing a good job, has begun to lose some ground, and it is both Romania and Hong Kong that are right there with them. 3 boats right across, and we are, in looking at the data, those boats are just bow ball to bow ball, really.
Oh, it's so tight as we move into the last stretch. This will be an absolutely thrilling finish for everyone to watch, especially those on shore. There's only 3 boats that can go to Final A, and so many in contention right now. Truly all of these athletes, I'd say with the exception of Denmark. Such a close finish. Bridget Kennedy continuing to hold as she comes towards the line. Switzerland, Olivia Nacht holding on to a qualifying position. Romania on the move. Hong Kong, China as well. It's Hong Yingwan Winnie.
Here comes Nacht from Switzerland pulling ahead of Kennedy. And in the meantime, it is the boat from Hong Kong pulling aside Kennedy as well as they cross the finish line. Very tight there. But it was Nacht from Switzerland who passed over the line first, David. And then it was Kennedy and the boat from Hong Kong, the USA and Hong Kong, in lanes 2 and 4 that were very close together, with that boat from Romania right in the middle in the mix, and very, well, too close to call.
To my eye, it looks like Romania maybe just missed out on that spot in the A final. Bridget Kennedy got roped in there in the last 200 meters, so she's going to have to think about that in terms of race plan in the A final. But you know what? She punched her ticket unofficially, so that's really all that matters. She got herself into that final race. But what a finish from Switzerland! Switzerland at one point there with about 250 meters left looked like drop back possibly to 4th place, and then I watched on the screen. She kicked up the stroke rating and found just another gear.
Amazing finish in the second semifinal for the lightweight women's single sculls, and more exciting racing on the way now as we will go to the semifinals for the pairs, the women's pairs here at the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA, live on ESPN. I'm Mark Purcell with Colleen Saville and David Wyan, welcoming you to this first-time coverage of rowing on ESPN. and you can see why we are so willing and enjoying bringing you the excitement with that photo finish there. The lineup for the women's pair in the first semifinal is Germany in lane 1, Japan lane 2, Greece lane 3, USA lane 4, New Zealand lane 5, and Australia in lane 6, and it is Greece. Bornpu and Kiradu out early in the lead by a boat length at the halfway point with open water over the bow of the USA boat, Sarah Johannek and Hadley Irwin. And we have seen some fierce racing in these pairs throughout this competition.
We have, absolutely, and I think especially from this Greek pair as well. This combination, they're the Youth Olympic champions, they're last year's World Rowing Junior champions, and they line up against a strong field, but currently just out ahead and making the best of it.
And it looks like at the and Greece is out in front. USA is in second place. The U.S. stroke woman Hadley Irwin of Princeton University was in the women's 8 last year, the medal-winning women's 8 for the United States at the Under-23 Championships. But particularly, we have seen a lot of really quick starts from Greece. It seems to be almost sort of a team decision that they really put a lot of emphasis on trying to get the lead. But with regard to this crew, as Colleen was talking about, this is a very experienced pair, and experience in the pair sometimes makes a huge difference.
Christina Bornpu and Maria Kiradu from Greece continuing to lead in the second semifinal, 3 going to the A final, and the chance at the gold medal at the U23 Championships for World Rowing's 2019 regatta. Sarah Johannek and Hadley Irwin in second right now, with Grace Holland and Ruby Willis from New Zealand in third, but on the outside, not to be discounted yet, though they are running out of water, it's Tara Rigney and Dion Betega from Australia. They are right there on the stern of the boat from New Zealand, but out front, that boat from Greece just looking strong, passing through the 1,500-meter mark.
And perhaps, again, not surprising to see them out ahead. The USA doing a nice job as well. You see that shot of them behind open water length, then back to the United States. In the prior round, the USA took the lead from the start. Another experienced combination in this women's pair. That's Sarah Johannek and Hadley Irwin. They both medaled at the 2018 Under-23 World Champs, but in different events.
And they're showing some strength and sitting in second place. Again, we're looking top 3 are going to go to the A final. The real question at this point is how are they going to finish relative to one another? Is the United States going to hold off New Zealand and Australia in these last 350 meters? That's going to be what we're looking at, because Greece is so strong and looking like they are pretty easily going to go start to finish. Cool as the other side of the pillow, as ESPN commentators might say. They just look so good and so in sync and beautiful. You can see that overhead shot. Nobody's going to catch Greece, but what's going to happen behind them?
Yeah, Grace Holland and Ruby Willis from New Zealand moving up a little bit on the boat from the USA, coming in, trying to capture that spot. In the meantime, Rigney and Betega from Australia trying to catch up with the Kiwis and maybe try to steal a chance to go to the semifinals and a chance at the gold. But it is a very dominating performance here from Bornpu and Kiradu from Greece as they come stroking to the line 40 meters from the finish in the first of the semifinals for the women's pair. The Greece boat coming across the line with about almost 30 meters of a lead.
And the United States then holding second. New Zealand currently running third. New Zealand, their signature push is always in the last 500 meters, right at that 500 to go mark. It's pushed them into third place position. We saw them take it up at that point in the race in heat number 3 as well. So those are our 3 qualifying crews. Greece, USA, New Zealand, as lane 6, Australia comes through the line. Then the sheer exhaustion over on the far side from Japan. Germany now in their final few strokes.
Those 3 boats, Australia, Japan, and Germany, will be going to the B final in the women's pair as we see the Germans stroke across the line in that first semifinal, 3 going to the A final, and that's just the first of the 2 semifinals for the pairs.
And unofficially a World Championships best time. That was a sub-7 race by Greece. That is a blazing race.
And especially in the pair, just quite fascinating. And we might see, as you said, here on these waters at Nathan Benderson Park, where the 2019 World Rowing under 23 championships are taking place, we may be seeing some records fall. The second semifinal for the women's pair has France in lane 1, Russia in lane 2, Great Britain in lane 3, the Republic of South Africa in lane 4, the Netherlands in lane 5, and in lane 6, Italy. This was quite a performance from both Great Britain and from the Republic of South Africa in the heats coming to these semis, and it is South Africa out ahead by about a boat length, but being hotly pursued by both the Netherlands and Great Britain. Still in contact, it is the boat from Russia as well as France and Italy. So as they approach the halfway mark, still a very even race here, David.
South Africa being stroked by Jessica Scumby. She is an undergraduate at the University of Michigan in the United States. So again, we're seeing these international athletes that represent sometimes United States universities here on this water in the United States. And it just looks very, very controlled from that pair from South Africa. The stroke rating is one that looks pretty manageable, although relatively high. But I think, they've got they should have the fitness to be able to continue. But look how close it is. What a race we have shaping up. It's only 3 that are going to go to the A final, and you have 3 boats in lanes 2, Russia, lane 3, Great Britain, and lane 5, Netherlands, that are probably within a half a second of one another as they come through halfway.
Emily Lindberg and Esme both from Great Britain in second currently, but that fight for third between Russia and the Netherlands, neck and neck when I glanced down at the data.
And Great Britain, I think we can expect a great race from. As we know, they won Heat 3. They were the winner of the prior round, but it was a 4-boat race with New Zealand, France, and Denmark. They were all off the start together. Great Britain took the lead at the 1,000-meter mark, which is essentially where these crews are more or less passing or have just passed. So third 500, we know, is a strong place for Great Britain, but it's still South Africa remaining that leader. Great Britain running second, and it's over to the Netherlands in third.
Very tight amongst these, but not to be discounted is the boat from Russia in lane 2 of Elena Danilyuk and Ekaterina Glaskova, as they are right there sticking with the leaders. And if they have another gear to kick in these last 750 meters, they may have a chance to capture a spot for that A final.
And peripherally, Russia can notice that those crews are right there. So they should know where they stand, even though they're trailing just slightly, both Great Britain and the Netherlands that are sitting in those second and third place spots that would move through to the A final. And we're starting to see a little bit of a push there from Russia. They're only about a half a length behind the boat from Great Britain. So then that's going to put the pressure on Great Britain in an adjacent lane, because those women really can see where Russia stands. So if Russia starts putting on a move that is kind of a devastating speed move, it could put Great Britain into a position where they're trying to play defense, and it could affect the rowing. Not to be discounted on the outside, the Italians are starting to show some speed.
Currently, all of these boats moving fairly similar speeds as we come in to the last stretch. It'll be interesting to see who decides to sprint a little bit early, again, knowing that it's just 3 crews to advance, and so many of them are so connected as they come through the very last stretch of this race. South Africa, though, leading Great Britain in second, Netherlands in third. Then the battle becomes, can Russia pull ahead of the Netherlands? They'll need to go now. We're approaching 250.
There's not a whole lot in it here between those two, second and third, and then Russia with a chance. But as you said, they really are going to have to wind it up and find some speed that they haven't shown down the race course. But they may have it in their pocket, and it might have been their plan all along as they do start to move.
Great Britain is the one on the move here, David, really picking up their stroke rate, beginning to close the gap between their bow and the stern of the leading boat from South Africa. In the meantime, it is Russia trying to pick up some speed on the outside and move into the top 3, but the Netherlands still holding on. But it was Great Britain that is now really beginning to pour on the speed, and it is Russia that is now the fastest boat on the water, but they may not have enough room to be able to catch up and capture that third spot. But we will see, because they are coming down to the line with just about 150 meters to go.
I think Russia heard Colleen, because they did kick it into a different gear. They went up, and they went up before the Netherlands, and the Netherlands is now having to play defense and push. This is going to come right down to the line.
Such an exciting finish. South Africa continues to lead. Great Britain and the Netherlands moving at almost identical speeds and just next to each other. Russia right with them. If you're in that South African shell, you know they're getting faster behind you. Ever so close. 3 spots to the final. 4 boats in contention. It is South Africa. I dare not call the rest. I dare not call the rest. We'll wait for the official times.
I've just in eyeing the line as it came by, a big push from Russia there at the end. They really kicked it into gear, and they moved in, I believe, to the top 3 with the Netherlands as well, and it may be Great Britain that will be the boat that missed out by a bow ball. But 3 boats across, 4 boats crossing the line, only 3 spots for that A final, and you can see the effort that these rowers made as they are hunched over at the line. And indeed, that is the case by 2/100ths of a second. The Netherlands edging out Great Britain in the second of the semifinals for the women's pair. And that's what it's all about, David and Colleen, to see that race and that effort from Russia to come from half a boat length behind and end up in second place.
An absolutely incredible push from Russia. Adrenaline, I'm sure, and just knowing that this is their last chance.
The next semifinal will be for the men's quads, and that is France in lane 1, Russia in lane 2, Great Britain in lane 3, South Africa in lane 4. Then we have the Netherlands in lane 5 and Italy in lane 6.
You can see out in front, I think it's Great Britain in lane 3 that is ahead of the Czech Republic. You can see it on the screen there. That's the Czech Republic in the middle of the screen. And then you see up in lane 1 is New Zealand. And at the halfway point, I think those are your top 3. Again, this is a semifinal A-B, so we're looking for 3 to move through to the A final. And you can watch the boat from Great Britain. They are very big, physically imposing men that are rowing very nicely down this race course, enjoying the tailwind. We're going to see a blistering time, I suspect, out of that boat from Great Britain. Good picture there. You see the boat from Austria in lane 5, and you see that boat from Moldova in lane 4. So the 2 top qualifiers here were Great Britain and the Republic of Moldova, who is currently sitting in 4th place, which would have them out of the A final.
It was interesting to see these British boats in the heats where they didn't seem to be performing very well, but in the repechage, in the semis, the British boats are really making a class of what rowing is all about as they continue to lead here in the semifinal for the men's quads, and they are out with an open water lead, but they are hotly pursued by Moldova and Austria and Poland, the Czech Republic and New Zealand. But it's the Czech Republic and New Zealand with the advantage over the other 3 boats as they pursue that boat from Great Britain.
And Great Britain, of course, just a wealth of experience together in this shell. We saw 3 of the 4 athletes, with the exception of the bow seat, George Bourne, row in this category in the men's quad where they captured gold last year. So you've got some motivated athletes to come back, not just get on the podium, but for 3 of these gentlemen, what could be a repeat of a gold medal. They're out ahead. They show no signs of slowing down, pushing the rest of the field back and doing what they need to get done to get into the final.
I'm struck by this shot here, David, at how easy they are at making how fast they're going look, because they are really moving that boat through the water and doing it with what seems to be a minuscule amount of effort.
And it's a very upright rowing style that we're seeing out of Great Britain in this men's quad, but they're at about 37 strokes a minute, and that's about to change as they approach the last 250 meters of the race course here. But as I said, we've seen some blazing times with this a little bit of tailwind that we have here at Nathan Benderson Park. I suspect this will be another one because Great Britain is not letting off the gas whatsoever in lane 3 in that gold boat. It's Great Britain way out in front, and then it does appear it continues to be the Czech Republic and New Zealand. Those 2 boats in that order, but connected, sitting in 2nd and 3rd place in lanes 2 and 1 respectively. And then it's extremely close on the tower side between Austria and Poland. Unfortunately, a problem in the boat from Republic of Moldova, which I had them at a very low stroke rating, and they were one of the better qualifiers. But it's Great Britain across the line with almost 25 meters of open water.
Great Britain comes through, a job well done to them indeed, followed by the Czech Republic out of lane 2. Then it's over to New Zealand, closest to us, Poland, then Austria, and Moldova still on the course in their final few. So a great performance from Great Britain again, perhaps not surprising. Mark, I think they are on their way to the final, and they're happy about it. You can see them on the water, just a nice clip rowing away, a bit of a cool down. They've done what they needed to do.
Indeed, not stopping and cooling off, but continuing to row right through. And what a blazing fast speed for that first semifinal for the men's quads. 5:40.94 for Great Britain. And we will see some fast times on the smooth waters of Nathan Benderson Park.
1 second off of the World Championships best time is that unofficial time just laid down by Great Britain. As somebody who has announced most of the regattas out here, I can tell you that's probably the fastest that a quad has gone down this race course ever.
And again, effortlessly as you watch them. What a strong boat there. These are the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships live on ESPN from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA. I'm Mark Purcell with David Wyand from US Rowing and Colleen Seville from World Rowing as we call these races semifinals right now for racing for the opportunity to go to the A final for the gold medal. The second of the semis for the men's quads has Hungary in lane 1. In lane 2, Romania, Italy in lane 3, in lane 4, Switzerland, France in lane 5, and in lane 6, Germany. The start list for the men's quads, second semi with 3 spots remaining for the A semifinal, or for the A final, and that chance for the gold here at the World Rowing Under-23 Championships. And as they streak towards the 500-meter mark, all these boats still connected all within about a half a boat length as we see that beautiful shot from overhead looking down on the course here at the lake, and an early lead for Germany out in front.
Yes, Germany out in front, out of lane 6. So out of lane 6, a little bit surprising again because we know that these boats are set up in a way where the middle lanes are the favorable lanes. So all of these times, though, I'll note from the prior round in the heats, we're so close. So as we think about what lanes are favorable and where these crews are sitting, it almost doesn't really matter because they're all just within a small handful of seconds away from each other. Germany leading as we move about 750, 800 down.
Blistering time, 1:24 to the 500 meters for Germany out of lane 6. Starting to move now with Germany is the boat from Italy in lane 3. And you see the blue of the Italians starting to move into the Germans there at 750 meters. Sitting in third place is a boat from Romania in lane 2. And on the picture, you also see the boat from Switzerland in lane 4. They are currently sitting in fourth place. Yet again, we are looking for top 3. And it was a really fast first 500 meters for Germany. But now the Italians are showing their speed in the second 500.
And they, all these boats still overlapping each other all the way across the course. But the Italians definitely on the move and pressing Germany as they continue to move towards that halfway point. Germany still in the lead, Italy in second, with Romania in third at this point. But all these boats still moving fast and still with an opportunity with half the race left to advance to the A finals.
And it is 3 to advance. Germany still holding as we were talking about the Italians starting to pick it up. I was reminded of New Zealand, Ireland, and Italy. There are 3 crews that come to mind when I think about crews that really reliably have a sprint in them, always row it fast and high, and are someone that you need to keep your eye on, sort of especially in the last 500 meters. So Italy showing some of that speed early on. They are up at about 38 strokes per minute, rowing it aggressively, a quick clip, and doing what they need to do to keep themselves in contention. Romania holding third, but what a battle right now. Romania will need to sit tight and hold that position. It's getting close.
Yeah, Romania is starting to get reeled in a little bit by Switzerland and France, it appears. But you see a good shot there of Germany, who has pushed back out to the lead. So the Italians may have had it very briefly for about 100 meters. Germany pushing back out. But these 2 boats are the class of this semifinal so far. As they approach 500 meters to go, we're going to see another big-time sub-6 time in this second semifinal AB of the men's quad.
Watching the bow of the German boat glance over towards the Italians, and on on the first glance, he must have said something to his crewmates because they picked up the pace and got out in front of the Italians again. But the Italians now back in the lead, but just barely over that boat from Germany. In the meantime, it's still Romania holding on to holding on to third and that third and final place in the A final.
And such a battle then between Switzerland and France, a bit further back as we can see on the screen. But these two crews rowing neck and neck. Yes, Italy has put themselves ahead of Germany, keeping an eye on Romania. Romania and Germany, in fact, moving pretty similar speeds as they approach. But Romania will need to pick it up just a bit to get themselves ahead of Germany. 3 to advance. So it's Italy, Germany, Romania, the battle for fourth.
Germany in front right at the beginning and through the first half of the race. Italy then on the move, and you can see the Italians glancing to their left over at the boat from Germany as they come down to the final 300 meters of this 2,000 meters race, and it really is a drag race between those two boats here, David.
Yeah, Germany is over here sort of by themselves in lane 6. Certainly the bowman of the German boat only has one way to look to motivate his boatmates, but the Italians have been driven by the Romanians all the way down the race course. So that's kind of a subplot here, is that it may be a little bit easier for the Italians to gauge speed because they have Romania really pushing, and that bow of the Romanian boat has been in their eye the whole way, but it's going to come right down to the line. It is the blue of Italy starting to pull away now in the last 5 strokes from the boat from Germany. They will be your top 2 finishers. It appears it's going to be Italy, Germany, and Romania moving to the A final of the men's quad here at the 2019 Under-23 Championships. And just missing out is that boat from Hungary that will finish ahead of France and then Switzerland.
What showing by the Germans, congratulating each other on their success in that row, as are the boats, the crewmates in the Romanian boat, as they are celebrating the fact that they are going to the A final and the chance for that gold medal here at the Under-23 Championships. And these Sculls, I love the quads as they come flying down. So it's pretty cool to see these close races as they come down to the finish line here at Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida at the World Rowing Under-23 Championships. Live on ESPN, you're watching the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida in the USA. We had a weather delay in the competition today, another rainstorm with some lightning that moved through, so the competition was delayed by about 2.5 hours, but everything is happening right now. And it's been some wonderful racing. As the sun came out, the blue sky has been showing its face, and we have been seeing some just incredible athleticism on the waters at Nathan Benderson Park. David Wyant from U.S. Rowing, Colleen Seville from World Rowing, and yours truly, Mark Purcell, calling these races. And I tell you what, this competition has been fierce today. Those lightweight women's singles with the U.S. in the mix for the semifinals was quite exciting. Just a crazy finish at the end.
Really came down to it as Bridget Kennedy of the United States out in front the entire track. And then in the last 500 meters, we had 3 boats start to challenge her. And in fact, she did not lead at the finish line. So it was just amazing. And I think 2 boats separated by 0.02 of a second at the finish line, being pushed out of the A final by such a slim margin. I mean, that is inches in front of us here at the finish line. That was a race that certainly stood out.
We've had a couple of races that have really been photo finishes, very, very close together, and those photo finishes have produced some heartbreak as well. As in some of the instances earlier, we were only taking 2 boats to go to the A final. That was in the women's doubles, and to see some heartbreak happen when the 3rd place boat just barely missed out.
Oh, it's absolutely heartbreaking. Of course, this is the moment that all of these athletes train for all year long, and of course, for so many of them that they've been building toward before. Many of them will make their senior team debut next year, so a last shot at some of these under 23 titles. But this part of the program, of this 5-day program, just so exciting, because what we're seeing today is truly the last chance for these athletes to get themselves into the A finals, to have a shot at finishing 1 through 6 in the world.
And I have to say, the races with 8 oars in them, whether it was the big stroke races for the men's and women's 8s, those were quite exciting today, as well as the quad races that we just experienced.
Yeah, standout for me, certainly, of today's racing in the AB semifinals was that quad from Great Britain, setting a world championship best time.
So we continue with semifinals going to the C and D finals of this 2019 World Rowing Under 23 Championships. We will have the C and D finals for the lightweight men's singles and the regular men's singles. The lightweight men's singles to begin with Kenya in lane 1, Georgia in lane 2, Greece in lane 3, Japan in lane 4, and Panama in lane 5. They are just underway at the start as we look from overhead to see these boats take off in this semifinal to determine who goes to the C final and who goes to the D final. Again, in this regatta, every boat that is competing gets ranked.
They do, yeah, they absolutely do. Every single boat that's competing gets ranked, so it's an opportunity for these athletes to really test their speed relative to one another, and of course to see who ultimately will get into the A final and onto the podium. It's always a race for medals. As we look at the first 500 meters of this race and get a sense of how this lightweight men's single sculls race is developing, trading places here and there, starting to space out just a bit. It's now Japan. Panama is leading at one point. Some boats trading places off the line. Starting to look like, though, Japan emerging as an early leader, Greece not far behind.
So again, the lineup is Emmanuel Mburu from Kenya in lane 1, Nedari Martolecki from Georgia in lane 2, Charalampos Tinenis from Greece in lane 3, Yuta Arai from Japan in lane 4, and Joseph Wilbur from Panama in lane 5. And indeed, it is Greece out in front, but Japan right behind when it comes to the speed as they come down the course. Again, in rowing, as they qualify for the semifinals and the finals, the fastest lane are the lanes in the middle, lanes 3 and 4 typically. So that's why this chevron shape appears on the water, especially when you see it from above in this beautiful drone shot.
And even though this is a CD semifinal, because of the prior rounds, it is a competitive semifinal. All of these boats with very similar speeds, which is what we would expect. So even though these athletes are not going for the AB finals and instead are vying for places in the CD finals in this regatta, they are all of similar speeds, and that's because they rode through the preliminary rounds, and that's what put them into this CD semifinal. You see a very manageable stroke rate from the single sculler from Greece out in front, but not too far in front of Japan, and the top 3 from this CD semifinal will move to the C final.
Top three indeed. So it's Greece and Japan with a quite sizable lead. Then looking at the rest of the field, well, a bit of a battle between Georgia and Panama. That's Joseph Wilbur of Panama. Wilbur rowing in the repechage to get himself here, finishing fourth overall there. In terms of the fastest time on paper from the prior round, the repechage, it is Greece, so perhaps no surprise that Tenenis continues to lead. But it is just three to Final C, and Final C, of course, determining 13 through 18 overall in the world, and the D final determining 19 through 24. David, as you mentioned, just quite a deep field.
It's still just beautiful rowing from the Greek single sculler. I've been watching him. It is a very long but powerful through the water stroke. It is not out of control in terms of how many strokes he's taking per minute. It is very controlled and just making it look easy on this beautiful flat water. Little bit of a tailwind here at Nathan Benderson Park today on our Friday of the Under-23 World Rowing Championships. But it is an open water lead now for Greece over Japan. Japan had that good early start and actually led to about 400 meters, with Greece then starting to push away. And you see a good shot there also of the Japanese single sculler Yuta Arai. And you see those Japanese blades with the red circle. We know that the 2020 Olympics are right around the corner in Tokyo.
There's a possibility that some of the athletes that you're seeing here will be rowing, as many of the athletes we have seen who are under 23 have competed at the world rowing level here, Colleen. So I imagine there might be some of these folks representing their home countries at the Olympics there in 2020.
Absolutely. And of course, with that just around the corner, we have seen some athletes that we mentioned, some athletes from Germany sort of rowing in what's a bit of a larger pool than the typical German national team, as Germany and, of course, all of these countries start to make selections. So they are opening it up then and considering under 23 athletes, many of these athletes just so talented, both at the U23 level, but also at the senior level. And so many of them having the chance to test their speed earlier this spring in the World Rowing World Cup circuit at the senior level. So one advantage to that, of course, just in addition to being able to get another race under your belt, is really being able to test your speed against the senior level. And speaking of speed, Greece continues to lead. That's Tenenis from Greece, a talented junior rower. He took bronze back in 2017 in the junior men's double. Then last year at the under-23s, we saw him in the lightweight men's double, where he finished 12th overall. Of course, this year, looking to improve upon that standing.
And it's only about 27 or 28 strokes a minute for Greece right now. So he's doing it in a way that is also conserving some energy. So it was a rhythm that we saw from the Greek single sculler that really started at about 250 and really started to find more speed than every other boat in the field. It is Japan still hanging on to second place, but starting to find a little more speed is Joseph Wilbur of Panama. He is going to try to hold off Mardalecki of Georgia for the third spot in this, to put them into the C final here in the men's lightweight single. But it is a clinical but powerful row still from Greece.
Live on ESPN, these are the World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida in the USA, as we are watching the CD semifinals for the men's lightweight single sculls, with Kenya, Georgia, Greece, Japan, and Panama being represented in this first of two semifinals. Then we'll see the Ivory Coast, Latvia, Tunisia, and the Philippines in the second. 53 countries from around the globe being represented at these U23 championships, and it has been fantastic to see the competition and the camaraderie between these nations.
And especially seeing some of these developing rowing nations like Kenya, to have a single sculler here from Kenya in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida at these under-23 World Championships is really just outstanding. Coming across the line, a couple boat lengths ahead of the field is going to be Greece, who will finish just ahead of Japan there, who will hold off Joseph Wilbur of Panama. Those three will move to the C final. It will be the D final for Martaleki of Georgia and Mburu of Kenya.
And credit to Joseph Wilbur of Panama. He's just 17 years old, training out of Vesper Boat Club in Philadelphia. So a job well done racing up at this level.
So it is Tenenis from Greece with the win in the first of the semifinals, advancing to the C final, along with Yuta Arai from Japan and Joseph Wilbur from Panama. And they will go to the C final with Martaleki from Georgia to the D final. The second of the semis for the lightweight men's singles sculls will feature Aimé Frank Indri from the Ivory Coast, Gert Sokolovs from Latvia in lane 2, Mohamed Khalil Mansouri from Tunisia in lane 3, and Chris Nivarez from the Philippines in lane 4. And as they are underway, it is Mohamed Khalil Mansouri from Tunisia out in the lead, but being challenged by Sokolovs from Latvia. And in third right now is the Philippines' Nivarez, followed by the Ivory Coast's Indri, in that order. At the halfway point of this race in the lightweight men's single sculls semifinal C and D.
And we talk about representation from all the wonderful nations here at the Under-23 World Championships. Of course, that includes, in this specific race, the Ivory Coast. That's Frank Kouadio Aimé, discovered by Tim Turner, a former Canadian national team member who now lives and works in the Ivory Coast. He trained Aimé to be a more competitive internationally. This is Aimé's first World Championship. In fact, it's the first time he's been in the United States. He spent the last few weeks training with the Craftsbury Green Racing Project in Vermont. So absolute credit to him, and wonderful to see him here in this race.
And great to have the hospitality of Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida here too, David, and the beautiful facility here at Nathan Benderson Park, this international world-class venue for rowing.
Happy to have all of these nations, all of these athletes, the spectators, the family members here at Nathan Benderson Park for this World Rowing Under-23 Championships. And they're in the third 500. They're about halfway through that third 500, so about 750 meters left, or about 700 meters left. It continues to be Tunisia out in front of Latvia and the Philippines, with Ivory Coast, you can see in the picture, but a little bit off the pace. So we're looking top three again. They're going to go to the C final in this men's lightweight single scull event, and it's under 30 strokes a minute. I have had the Tunisian single sculler Mohamed Khalil Mansouri out in front of the field. So sort of relatively similar in terms of the styles between the boat from Greece in the prior semifinal and this boat from Tunisia.
Watching these single scullers as they concentrate on their race, moving through the 1,500 meter mark, with the lead continuing to be held by Mohamed Khalil Mansouri from Tunisia. He's leading by about a second and a half over Gert Sokolovs from Latvia and Chris Nivarez from the Philippines as they continue down the course. A nice row, very comfortable and powerful look for that boat from Tunisia as they continue to go down. But a challenge coming, it appears, from the boat from Latvia in the lane next to him.
Yes, Latvia Sokolovs picks up a little bit of speed now as he moves through the last quarter of the race. All of these athletes striking between 30 and 32 strokes per minute or so, but our Tunisian sculler Mansouri just on the lower side of that, so really getting the job done with power. We see him now crossing into the last 250 meters. Latvia keeping themselves right in there, then over to the Philippines, and then to Aimé Nendry from the Ivory Coast. So 3 to advance. Currently, that would be Tunisia, Latvia, and the Philippines. Less than 150 meters to go.
In the 2018 World Rowing U23 Championships, Brazil was the one who took the gold, with France the silver and Austria the bronze. So we will see how it shapes up this year in the A final for the medals. But here, trying to stamp a ticket to go to the C finals. It looks like Mohamed Khalil Mansouri from Tunisia continues to stroke, but here comes a big push from Chris Nivares from the Philippines, trying to catch up with Gert Sokolovs from Latvia at the line. And as they come down, it is Nivares winning in second, or coming in second, behind Mansouri, with Sokolovs in third, followed by Aimé Endry from the Ivory Coast in fourth in that second semi of the semi-C and Ds of the lightweight men's single sculls. So it will be Tunisia, the Philippines, and Latvia advancing to the C final, and the Ivory Coast boat going to the D final in the lightweight men's single sculls.
Kristen Veras with a just blistering last 250 from the Philippines. Really a great showing in the last 250 meters. Very patient to wait until that point to really start showing a different speed.
Coming down to the penultimate race for this day at the World Rowing Under-23 Championships here in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida. We have the CD semifinals for the men's singles. Now, this race, these single scullers raced earlier today in the quarterfinals, and the lineup for this first of the two semifinal CD races is Arnold Omani from Uganda in lane 1, Anthony Gerard from France in lane 2, Lucas Ferreira from Brazil in lane 3, Mohamed El Shahawi from Egypt in lane 4, William Misom from Denmark in lane 5, and William Stanhope from the Bahamas in lane 6 in this first lineup for the men's singles CD semifinals. And at as we cross the line right there and move forward, it is the boat from Brazil, Lucas Ferreira, who's in the lead here in this semifinal.
And Lucas Ferreira, just a lot of experience from this Brazilian sculler. We saw him last year in the men's singles, so the same category, where he finished 6th. So he made it to the A final, finished 6th overall. In 2017, he rode at both the senior level and at the under-23 level, both in the single. Then a quick note on his junior performance. He took a bronze in 2016 in the junior men's single. So a lot of time sculling, perhaps not surprising to see him jump out ahead.
And it's the Danish rower in lane 5, William Wisholm, who is in second right now and beginning to challenge the Brazilian. But in the meantime, there's plenty happening right behind with the French rower Anthony Gerard trying to keep up with those leaders.
And those are your top three. So it's Brazil, Denmark, and France in those top 3 spots that would move through to the C final as we approach the last 500 meters of this first CD semifinal of the men's single. You see those signs come into play. That is 500 meters to go. It is Lucas Ferreira of Brazil out in front. You can see it is a manageable stroke, it appears. He has not started to wind it up, but I'll tell you what, we're seeing more speed now from Denmark. In the picture there in lane 5, the Danish single sculler really starting to go after it and trying to get past Lucas Ferreira.
And 1 through 3 to advance to semifinal A, B. Currently Brazil holding that position. That's Lucas Ferreira, quick off the line, a strong first 1,000. It's bringing him now into the final stretch of the race. Then Denmark running second, France running third, as we can see on the screen here. Would take a little bit of work for the remaining crews to catch up to them. Now moving through the last 300 or so meters.
And I think there was a bit of a problem for the Egyptian single sculler, unfortunately, off the line. And he sort of is trailing the field a little bit, is the single sculler from Egypt. We're not entirely sure what that problem was, but still coming down the race course. And he's going to finish up this CD semifinal, it appears. But out in front, it continues to be the single sculler in lane 3 from Brazil. And starting to pull away is Lucas Ferreira.
Indeed, Mohamed El Shahawi, who had a very fast time earlier, just missing out on an opportunity, the fastest time to qualify for this semifinal, way behind the pack in this race, and that is a shame, having trained so vigorously to be here and to compete. know that must be a bit of a heartbreak. But coming down to the line, it is Lucas Ferreira from Brazil, continuing to stroke to the finish and the victory, and a chance to go to the C final here in the men's single sculls. Crossing the line in second will be Wilhelm Wisholm from Denmark. Then it will be the French rower Gerard in third with, well, we'll have to see how they shake out right here, but it looks like William Stanhope from the Bahamas will be crossing in fourth. And as we look, Arnold Almany from Uganda will be in fifth. And as we mentioned, Mohammed El Shahawi, very fast qualifier earlier this morning, is now moving to about 400 meters from the finish, having faced some problems out of the starting gate.
And all of these athletes having rowed twice in about 2 hours, so a very grueling event, this well-attended men's single. It's amazing to see these athletes get right back on the race course, essentially, in this CD semifinal and still put down these good times, and 3 of them will move forward to that C final.
Here's Arnold Omeni from Uganda crossing the finish line right there. A fine showing for Amani. And in the meantime, we have the final race of the day, the CD semifinal for the men's singles, with Gunther Reed from Luxembourg in lane 1, Marco Palomo from El Salvador in lane 2, James Wright from the USA in lane 3, Osama Habish from Algeria in lane 4, Janis Timbors from Latvia in lane 5, and Javier Insfram from Paraguay in lane 6. And we can see right here, it is it is James Wright from the USA leading Osama Habish from Algeria and Javier Isfram from Paraguay out in front, but Janis Timbors from Latvia right there in the mix as well.
And James Wright just finished his first year at Stanford. He stroked the 1V. Again, we had the chance to see him race earlier today. Born and raised in Philly. His first year with the under-23 squad after making the team for the juniors. So wonderful to see him having a strong start, although he'll need to keep an eye on Algeria, just starting to press ahead.
And
Indeed.
Also pushing into the mix is that boat from Paraguay on the outside in lane 6. So you can see a beautiful picture there. Really 4 boats and 3 spots are what's available for the C final to contest places 13 through 18 in the world in the men's single. And you're talking about the United States single sculler with 750 meters left. James Wright has half a boat length on that single sculler from Algeria in the adjacent lane 4.
Indeed, Osama Habish, very strong showing earlier this morning in his first row of the day. Wright as well, but it is Wright who is holding his own. But on the move is Javier Insfram from Paraguay, who has begun to walk up a little bit on those 2 leaders, and Janis Timbors from Latvia trying to maintain contact with the Paraguayan boat and let him pull him forward too.
And USA continuing to hold, Algeria holding second. Of course, 3 spots to qualify. Latvia right now holding on to that critical third place position. Will take something special from Spain, that's Marco Palomo, to bring himself into a qualifying position, but has to feel pretty good right now holding the pack.
And the Paraguayan rower there in lane 6 has begun to pour it on, and he glanced to his right, dug in his oars there, David, and really began to move forward. And now he is in the lead over second place boat now, James Wright from the USA. Third place is still Algeria's Habish there in lane 4. But boy, this is Javier Insfram from Paraguay really making a move right now with inside of 400 meters to go.
And it is not easy to win a race at a world championship. And that's what Javier Insfran is trying to do here in this CD semifinal out of lane 6. And I don't want to speculate, but James Wright just missed out on that A-B semifinal. And so the effort that he put in the quarterfinal this morning may have been a little bit more than we saw from Javier Insfran from Paraguay, who's out there in lane 6. But it is Paraguay really rowing away with this one at the moment as James Wright starts to pull away a little bit from Algeria.
Indeed, James Wright trying to distance himself. In the meantime, a big move from Giannis Timbors as he's trying to pull forward too. But it is Insfran from Paraguay who had a big move at the 500-meter mark and is now beginning to pull away from the pack in a big sprint coming down to the finish line, the final 50 meters. Insfran from Paraguay with quite a showing. James Wright trying to hold on to second. Remember, 3 spots advancing to the C semifinal. Right now it will be Insfran from Paraguay, Wright from the U.S., and the Habish from Algeria. Habish trying to catch up with Wright at the finish line, and he may have done it. I'm not really sure, though both those bow balls were moving when they came across the finish line. It'll have to be where that very fine line of the finish really is. And a good showing from Latvia's Giannis Timbors, but he will have to settle for the D final as those top 3 boats will go to the C final. In the meantime, it's Marco Palomo from El Salvador crossing the line, followed by Gunther Reed from Luxembourg. In that order here in the men's singles C and D semifinals, the 3 boats going to the C final will be Javier Insfran from Paraguay, James Wright from the USA, and Osama Habish from Algeria in that order. But what a finish there for the Paraguayan rower, and that is the sport of rowing, really, to have that power, that conditioning, to be able to reach down, even in your second competitive race of the day, and have the power to move ahead and capture a race like that.
Well, especially in the single, I think when these athletes, again, are making their own decisions, it's a boat of one, so they can be a little bit patient when they need to be, and they know when they need to step on the gas. I think that's what we saw with Javier.
And indeed, it was Usama Habish with just having his oar in the water at the right time, 1/10 of a second over James Wright of the USA, but they're still going to the C finals here at the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships from Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, USA. For Colleen Seville and David Wyant, I'm Mark Purcell, wishing you a good day and hoping you'll join us again live on ESPN when we go to a full day of semifinal racing tomorrow beginning at 9 a.m. here on ESPN from the 2019 World Rowing Under-23 Championships.